Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another day, another week. Wednesday edition. Is it Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday edition of 30 NSG. On today's show, we're going to be talking about three main topics, and then we're going to be talking about we're going to watch a video at the end of the show, or near the end of the show, second half of the show. We're going to talk about Wayfinder more, because Wayfinder was supposed to come out on the 15th. Today is the 16th, and it's coming out on PC on the 17th. They had a little bit of a rough bump, I guess, at the very end. But we're going to watch Force Gaming's video from like 5 months ago, who goes in real in-depth of what Wayfinder is. I know a lot of people are interested in this game. So what we're going to do is, because we like video games here, and I know a lot of you guys come here and want to know what I think about certain video games and whatnot, Force Gaming dove deep into a whole breakdown of what Wayfinder is. And I want to show some of you what it is, because some of you might be interested in this game. It is a free-to-play game in 2024, but right now it's going to be a $15 minimum game to get into the early access of it. So those are the three top stories, and then we're going to watch a Wayfinder video at the end. You guys like what we do here? We do the news. Every day we read over a couple stories. We have conversations with you guys all in chat. If you like this type of stuff, make sure you hit that like button down below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to go above and beyond that, you can hit the membership button as little as $5. Let me see what you guys, or who's here. What's going on, Dave Rose, Kylo, Soups, Travis, Water Bear, Boss. Thank you very much for popping in and hanging out with us this morning. If you're here for 1 second, 1 minute, or 1 hour, we do appreciate you very much for coming out and hanging out with us in the mornings. All right, so let's get started with DC Universe Online. We're going to be talking about Sony files another patent. And then we're going to talk about Xbox introduces a strike program. So not a lot of stories going on. Slow industry right now, as far as like news stories. So let's start with DC Universe Online. So DC Universe Online confirms big update for later this year. Now, I played this game way back when. We started a couple months ago again. We played on stream. It's a fun game, but they're supposed to do a graphical update and whatnot, and we're still waiting for that. So DC Universe Online reveals a new update, which will excellent news for some gamers who are waiting for additional content. So we're going to go do their actual blog post of DC Universe Online. And so far, DC Universe Online development update for August of 2023. So heroes and villains and allies, enemies, civilians, Magic users, please read for your August 23 development update to learn more about what the team has been up to. Okay, so the news. Do not read the whole update. Here's what you need to know. Episode 46 is the Justice League Dark Curse, is which is coming out. The PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X launch this holiday season. So let's go with what's happening through August and December. Heading into the rest of the year, we have a full slate of what we just started at the Save the Universe event. Up-level classic content with modern challenges, which runs into September. And this week, we'll also see the new Blue Beetle ally. And this is smart, right? We always talk about this. Cross-promotion. Blue Beetle's going to come out. Sadly, it's probably not going to do very well in the theaters. But still, the movie's coming out, and the character's coming to the game. So the Homecoming event arrives in September, followed by the Witching Hour in October, and the Season Greetings in December. Well, of course, they have new allies, artifacts, and time capsules as well. Now, most importantly, we have two major announcements to round out this development update with Episode 46, Justice League Dark Curse, which launched this October, and DC Universe Online will launch on its latest generation console of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X this holiday season. Now, in Episode 46, Justice League Dark Curse, a powerful curse is burning through the world's most powerful magic users, escalating their powers in dangerously violent extremes. Hoping Batman can take on the hard work, John Constantine transported his house in the mysterious to overlook Gotham Cemetery, where he and it are now under attack. So the Justice League Dark Curse players will join forces with Batman and members of the Justice League Dark to put an end to the threat to all magic. Things to know about the Dark Magic Curse, Justice League Dark Magic Curse, will offer normal and elite versions of duty content, which is level antagonist event versions available for limited time. There's also content that will include open world missions, a solo, an alert, and a raid. The episodes will feature DC characters including Batman, Wonder Woman, Zatanna, John Constantine, Deadman, Hecat, and more. The storyline will also follow the events of the server as indirect sequels to acclaimed episodes 34, Justice League Dark, I like how they do this. Even though I don't get to play it because it's an MMO and it's really hard to get into MMOs, I really like how DC Universe Online does this, right? The game came out in 2011. Here we are, what, 12, 13 years after? And they take episodes like comic books, stories, and they continue them on, right? So this is a continuation from episode 34, right? And now we're in episode 46. So episode will launch new player rewards, including gear, styles, and more. Episode 46, Justice League Dark Curse, will launch in October of 2023 on PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. DC Universe Online, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X is headed to the latest generation of consoles with PlayStation 5 and the X this holiday season. I like how it says the X specifically. It doesn't say the S. Now, obviously, it's coming to the S, but I think the graphical updates and stuff is for the PlayStation 5 and the Series X, but I could be mistaken, but that's how it's written. Okay. Along with the performance gains found playing natively on the latest, greatest hardware, the team is also working on gameplay and quality of life improvements to the match. This initiative is a long-term endeavor that's already underway, and you'll see some of these improvements launch over the next few months prior to the release on the new consoles. Now, some of the launches and some of them are following over the course of the next year. Stay tuned for future updates with more information. Now, you may be wondering what this means for playing DC Universe with your friends, and lets you assure you right away that whether you choose to move to the latest console or stay on the current one, you'll still be playing the same servers with your same characters and friends, and with all your purchases and achievements seamlessly intact. Okay? All you need to do is log in with the same PSN or the Xbox account once you have downloaded the game on your new system. That's it. So here's the calendar. So August right now is Save the Universe, Homecoming, and Blue Beetle Ally. In September, October, you're going to get episode 46 of the Justice League Dark Curse. You're going to get the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and also Fallen and Winter events. And then in the winter, late going into the first quarter of next year, you're going to get the Attack of Anti-Monitor, Love Conquers All, and Mr. Megaplex Mischief. Okay, so there you go. There is the complete update of DC Universe Online. What's nice coming to the next system is that it's going to be graphically, so you can play it right now on the X and the S, the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5, but they're doing an upgrade, complete upgrade, for the next-gen systems. And they haven't said anything about the Series S, right? There's no upgrade for the S. They say consoles, meaning PlayStation 5 and Series X. They don't say PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S/X, which is very interesting to see. Let me see what you guys are saying. What's going on, Big Mo? Yeah, but sometimes a movie that doesn't do good in theaters is still fun to watch down the road. Sometimes it's The Flash. I mean, it might be good, but it's not going to get love in the theaters, which means it's going to be a fail, right? I mean, I don't want any movie to fail, but there's movies that fail. That's just the way it works. So all the Z-list characters. Yeah, all the Z-list characters coming to you. You know, Marvel's Avengers could have taken this route. Oh, wait. I just read an article, Water. I was going to talk about this morning because of the DC Universe Online, but it wasn't really, there's nothing there. In Game Rant, they did an article about they need to do a Marvel's Avengers or Marvel's game like DC Universe Online. They had one with Marvel's Heroes, but they completely abandoned it, which was stupid because it was very successful. And then right as they moved it over to this, they lost the license, the company that lost the license to Marvel, and they basically just shut it down, like super fast. So it was a shame. It was a great game. But they need to be working on something. And then there was that other game that was supposed to come out, that a Marvel game, but it was too cartoony. And then all of a sudden they got rid of that one as well. Let's see. Soup says, I can't get another MMO. If I do, it's WoW or back to Diablo. Diablo is not an MMO, though. It's a share world, right? Share world light MMO. It's like MMO. We were talking about MMOs and light MMOs. I don't really like the word light MMO, but it's a shared world, right? That's what it is. It's a shared world. That's the best as you could say. It's a shared world. It's a shared world. It's like Destiny. It's a shared world. Division, shared world. Warframe, shared world. Diablo, shared world. All right. Captain Kennedy to fail. Okay, Marvel's Heroes, yuck. They need to make it like DC Universe Online. Marvel's Heroes was a good game, boss. You might not have liked it, but it was. It was a really good game. And it was very successful. The only reason that game shut down is because the company lost its license with Marvel, and they didn't want to renew it, so they just shut the whole thing down. Want to fail? She's been failing since she came in. Oh yeah, Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah. Didn't 30 buy an S? I did. Yeah, I bought an S for my son. DC Universe graphics would be better though. Well, they are going to get better, right? I don't know. You know what? Let's go look at Marvel Heroes real fast, right? Let's do a little. Let's do a side by side comparison, right? Let's see. This is. We have something from. This is from Marvel's Omega announcement trailer of PlayStation. I need gameplay. I mean, I didn't think this was the Marvel's Heroes game, right? And it's been closed since 2017. So it's been 5-6 years since it closed. Right? So this is the Marvel one. I don't think this is bad. Right? So let's just look at this for a bit. Now the UI system and stuff like that, but the graphics, they don't look bad. Right? Let's go to DC Universe Online now. Get actual gameplay here. Obviously, this game is still in production. They did boost the graphics since the original launch. I guess what I should do, gameplay from 2017. Let's see if we can find that. 5 years ago. That's probably good, right? Right? I mean, equal, I would say. It's equal. A little different camera angles and whatnot. But as far as the actual game itself, DC Universe Online has been nailing it with the way they give a comic book game. Imagine this, guys. Imagine this. A comic book game treated like a comic book. I know, it's crazy. Crazy. Who would have thought that DC Universe would be doing good things in the video game space, and where DC is literally a dead company in the movie industry. They can't make television shows, they can't make movies, but for some reason, DC Universe Online is a successful game. Imagine staying true to what the characters are inside, making a character of your own to live in the DC Universe as a character and going through stories involving different villains and different heroes. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Definitely not close to equal. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Marvel's Heroes was a really good MMO. This was just better, done better. But graphically and gameplay-wise, Heroes was good. Again, the only reason Heroes failed is because the company lost the license. Dingy and gray. What does that mean? Let's not get too nuts. It was Sony that made this what it was? Okay. Well, I don't understand. We're talking about just the online aspect of DC Universe, right? I'm not comparing if Sony did better than whoever you're trying to compete against, right? All I'm saying is Marvel's Heroes was a good game. Those are facts, right? The reason that Marvel's Heroes went down is because they lost the license and the company had problems and then it went belly up. DC Universe Online, which I'm giving credit for, has been doing it right for 13 years now. Dave Rose says, I like Marvel Heroes. Hold on one second. Let me go scroll down. I like Marvel Heroes. It was way more interesting, and the combat was better. If Heroes was still around, DC Universe goes under. I don't think it goes under. I think it just stays the same. I think it's just compare. I think it's Coke and Pepsi. I think it's Sony and Xbox. There'd be one better, one. I don't think it would go belly up. They're doing very good with this game, right? This game is doing very well because of the structure they do with it, right? There are 46 chapters inside this game where they constantly keep giving more content based on comic books, right? Stories. This is what comic book fans want, right? And they're free, right? Aren't they free? Most of them are free. I think some of them are paid for, or they all paid for, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look at their actual. You have to pay for the event. The event dates. Here, all episodes. Yeah, they're free. Right? Right? You have the shock of the system. Yeah, these are all free. Right? They just keep giving basically comic books, episodes, and move it over, which is great. So awesome to hear if you're a DC Universe Online person. I'm excited to see what the way they do the updates for the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. Because I don't play on PC, I play on the actual consoles. It's just easier for me. I would like to know what those graphical updates are, what it looks like, when it comes to the X. Because you could play it now, but you could tell it looks dated, right? You could tell it looks dated. Go on, Indy. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for becoming a member. Or subscriber. Same thing. I love Marvel way more than DC Universe. There's no way in hell I could lie to myself and say that Marvel Heroes was better looking or even on par with DC Universe Online. At the time, it was, though. At the time, I'm gonna have to do some research because I'm not gonna be like I know all for Marvel Heroes. Let's see. Let's look it up. Marvel Heroes. Let's see. Marvel's event. That's Marvel's Avengers. I don't want that. Marvel Heroes. What was it called? Omega, right? All right. This is just based on. I guess, the Steam charts, right? All-time peak 10 years ago was 12,518. Okay, so now let's look at DC Universe. Okay, DC Universe. I mean, let me show you, right? So DC Universe Online, and this is just Steam charts. Just Steam charts. Okay, all-time peak is 3,112. I don't know what it is on console. Okay. Now let's go to Marvel Heroes. It was called Omega, right? Internal server error because it hasn't been around. Let's see. It says 12,000. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. When Marvel Heroes was out, it was just as popular, if not more popular, right, than what DC Universe Online was. Now, again, it's a small sampling of what it was, because Marvel Heroes was a really fun fucking game. That's what it was. Those are facts. These are facts. Never said anything about its popularity. But, boss, I have no horse in the race. I am just looking at the data. I have played both games. I've played both games. Okay? If majority of people played more Marvel Heroes than DC Universe Online, then you can't say that Marvel Heroes was a bad game. Right? You're saying graphically or whatever, and I just looked at it. Graphically, Marvel's Heroes looked, like, visually with your eyes, you could see it looked good. Right? I mean, I don't understand the pushback or argument here, right? Because no, I'm not taking a side. I'm just saying that Marvel's Heroes was just as popular, and you're saying no way in hell DC Universe. I mean, which is just ridiculous. Graphics is DC Universe is way better. I mean, I don't know how you can say it's way better. The only difference is that the camera was zoomed in more. I did look at the graphics. I did. I looked at the graphics 100%. Would you like me to do a Marvel side-by-side comparison for you? Here, let's go to. Let's get this up. Because someone dies. Someone's blinded because someone's in love with Sony, right? Someone's in love with Sony, and they're blinded by their eyes of what they can actually see, right? And I get it. All right, and let me get DC Universe Online now and split the screens. Like, graphically, this is probably not the best. Let me get another one here. They're literally on par with each other. Literally on par with each other. The only difference is right? You're more zoomed in based on the person playing the game. I don't know how you can say that the Marvel Heroes graphics are bad. This is literally the graphics at the time of when the game came out. Both of them. It get its best video. I'm not getting its best video. That was literally a fucking trailer. Right? I'm giving you gameplay. I'm giving you gameplay. Look at the gameplay. Because they are, Cujo. They are, because that's the graphics back then. That's what graphics were. It's not like you were going to get Call of Duty realistic superheroes versus, like, Minecraft, which makes no fucking sense. That's right, Salty. They look like mobile games. That's exactly right. I'm not sure what engines they were made on. We can look that up. Unreal Engine 3 for Marvel. Unreal Engine 3. They're both made on Unreal Engine. Because the new one, it says Unreal Engine 5 DC Universe Online Forms. It looks like they're upgrading it maybe to the Unreal Engine 5. Let me see. New gen upgrade. It's all the information now that's happening. Yeah. They're made on the exact same engine. They're made on the exact same engine. But better graphics from Unreal Engine 3 to this game to that game when they look the exact fucking same. But hey, whatever. They're built on Unreal Engine, Water. It was built on Unreal Engine. So they're moving up. I'm assuming right now they're using Havoc and Unreal Engine 3, right? And they probably went to Unreal Engine 4 and now they're probably going up to Unreal Engine 5. The style of graphic, they're the same, boss. I don't even know what you're looking at, man. They're like the freaking same. When it looks good on Marvel, game is cinematic. Again, I literally just showed you gameplay for both. The gameplay looks the exact same. Like, what are we talking about? We're gonna move on because my brain hurts from being brought down from stupidity. Okay. Next story. Sony files a patent for new MMO server tech. New patent application from Sony suggests that company may be developing advanced MMO server technology, possible indicating a move into that genre, which they are because they're investing into live service games. They're investing into more multiplayer games with microtransactions and whatnot, right? They're just doing everything else everybody else is already doing in the industry. So The recently published patent application from Sony shows that the company is interested in developing new technology for maintaining large online servers for MMO games. While Sony has previously developed and published a handful of MMOs, the company has not attempted such a project in over a decade. Now, Sony has been responsible for many widely beloved video games over the years, but it's never had a strong presence in the MMO genre. In 2004, the company released EverQuest 2. I loved EverQuest 2, a less successful sequel to the genre-defining MMO EverQuest. We called it Evercrack, is what we called it. So the published DC Universe Online, both under the Us Spice of subsidiary company called Sony Online Entertainment, right? One of my favorite MMOs that Sony ever did was Star Wars Galaxies, and then they completely screwed that one over. The parent company also sold off Sony Online Entertainment to the independent investors, and the studio rebranded itself to Daybreak Games. Now detached from Sony, Daybreak continues to support these old MMOs, but it has a sparked controversy by attempting to add predatory features to EverQuest 2. Now, however, a recently published patent application, originally filed in April of this year, suggests that Sony may now be seeking a re-enter into the MMO genre. The patent is titled "A Massive Multiplayer Compute." It describes a new method of system for allocating resources for online games. Specifically, the patent technology would aim to improve allocations for computing power on MMO servers when large number of players enter the same area in the game world. As it stands now, high player populations can overwhelm MMO servers, so the technology capable of better managing server load would represent a big step forward for the genre. So as you can see, the patent here, it's showing how it does it. Okay. Now, the central claim of the patent outlines the broad strokes how Sony's new technology would achieve its goal. This boils down to the method of predicting where the players would be going and concentrate at that given time. So basically, if more people are in the open area space of this area, then it would allocate all the computing resources to those locations. In other words, the server would focus resources maintain the most heavily populated parts of the game, so like cities and hubs and stuff like that, world at any given time. Now, the patent claims to go on to describe some of the factors in the systems would use a predict where players will concentrate, including time challenges occurring to specific areas, local time zones areas for different players, populations, and relative popularity for certain events or game regions. This last point may be informed by the fact that MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV have had issues with server load-in in popular locations, right? So if they had like a world event going on where a world boss would come in, then this technology that they're doing would give more resource power to the world boss or the, like I said, like the hubs and whatnot. While the following does not prove anything of the latest Sony's patent speaks of possibility that the company may be looking to explore MMO genre, such plans might be connected to the present rumors of multiplayer spin-off of Horizon Games, introducing the possibility of a full-fledged MMO set in the vibrant post-apocalyptic world. Ultimately, as a massive multiplayer compute, patent is still being modest of the application process, or midst of the application process. Fans will likely have to wait a little longer. I mean, Sony's filing patents left and right. They're filing patents now for MMOs. They're filing patents for helping people. They're filing patents for AI. They're filing patents for what was the other thing? Something else with AI, right? I think we've read Sony patents in the last 6-7 months. I think we have about 8 or 9, maybe 10 patents that Sony has. So this is interesting because now that we've read that they're putting 60% into live service games, not to say that all live service games are going to be MMO, but they could be MMO shared world type of stuff, like a Destiny, right? Like a Diablo type of thing, or they could be full blown MMO type stuff. Be interested to see what's going on. But Sony's making big swoops and changes on their back end as far as doing multiplayer games. They're investing more into live service games, and now it looks like they're going back into the MMO genre, which would be great. I don't get this is how many people have to say it. We don't like live service before they get it. But that's the difference, Travis. People, and we're gonna go into Wayfinder in a second. That's another live service game, right? People say they don't like live service, but at the same time, live service games are popular, right? Live service games can be put out a lot faster than normal single-player standalone games. Those are facts, right? Live service games also are easier to make. They make a crap ton of money, and then they also don't last as long, right? But in the long picture, if you buy a single player game, like right now, no one's talking about Hogwarts anymore. Nobody's talking about Jedi Survivor anymore. Those are great games. But once you beat a single player game, you kind of put it down. A live service game, once you beat the main campaign, you continuously just keep playing the game, regardless if you beat the story or not. But live service to live service, not all live service games can make it. So there's a lot of live service games closing down because they just can't compete. I mean, time is time. And if you have 100,000 people playing this live service game and you have 1 million people playing this live service game, not all live service games are going to have the player base that they need to survive. Or if they do have a live service population, Marvel's Avengers, right? There's not enough people spending money to keep that up and running. They just get rid of it. Did you hear that Rockstar is thinking of lowering the price on Red Dead? I think it might only be $30, still too much, but still. They're lowering the single player aspect of it, or are they selling just the online version of it? Because they're just selling the online version of Grand Theft Auto as well. Is that just online? Yeah, once you're done with the single player game, Salty, you're done, right? You're like, oh, if I want to play it down the road, I'll just download it again. I mean, you can do that with any game, but live service games keep you in. No. Red Dead 1, the port. Okay, wait a minute. He's saying that Red Dead, did you hear that Rockstar is thinking of lowering the price on Red Dead? Might only be $30. Oh, because it's $50 now, is what you're saying. Gotcha. You play the game, like we did before. The internet ruined everything. I remember replaying and still replay Mass Effect once a month. Right. Again, you can still re-download it, but when you're talking about business, right? You're talking from the consumer standpoint. Consumer standpoint is that you play the game, you can download it, and you play it again. From a business standpoint, they look at it and go, okay, we released this single player game. People buy the game, the hype leading up to the game. They buy the game, they play the game. They never put the masses never go back. Sure, people go back, but they don't keep track of those games because they're not online unless the single player games are online. Okay? But live service games, they can keep track of people when they play it, log in, what they're getting, where they're going, how long they're playing. This is why they like live service games. Because they put in half the amount of effort, okay, get it out the door, and then once it's out the door, they can do minimal viable product, keep it going for not a big crew, right? Big crew at the beginning, get it out the door, small crew keeping maintained, and then put stuff into it. Nobody wants a damn single player game? I mean, Elden Ring, God of War, Horizon, Spider-Man, Baldur's Gate, all say differently. Right. That statement there, boss, is like what Travis would say. And Travis didn't say it. Right? You just literally just said nobody wants a single player game. I don't know if that was a joke, but literally single player games, right? Hogwarts, best-selling game this year. Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16. You're right. Nobody wants to play single player games. These games you're not playing all year. It doesn't matter, though. They're still getting the $70 for Hogwarts, for Jedi Survivor, for Final Fantasy, for Elden Ring, for God of War, for PlayStation, Spider-Man, right? They're all single player games. I don't know if today you should go back to sleep or something, boss. Like, usually you're not this bad to takes. I think, did you and Travis switch places today? I don't understand what's happening today. I don't understand. They did a mind meld. Yeah, usually Travis says something. Just got off work and cranky. Okay, that makes sense. My tails are good. You just don't want to admit it. No, your takes. Your takes, you mean? No, sometimes, Travis, you have some wild takes, right? Like, you'll say something like, nobody wants to play a single-player game. But meanwhile, all single-player games are like the top sellers this year. Nope, nobody's playing single-player games. Let me go look at. Let's see. What's the best games this year? Hogwarts, Jedi Survivor, Final Fantasy. The Mario game is gonna be coming out. Starfield's coming out. Zelda. Nobody's playing single player games. What are we talking about? Yeah, I don't know where we are, Soups. I don't know where we are. No, nobody wants to play single player games. Now, the conversation was live service games, right? Make more money than the single player games. Because in the long run, live service games, if it's a good live service game, they're charging $70 just like they are a single player game, but they're keeping you inside the game for longer than a single player game, right? Now, if you want to say the outliers of like an Elden Ring where people are playing, or a Baldur's Gate 3 that just came out, sure, once you play the game, you're going to put it down, but Baldur's Gate's got like 17 different endings, and you have all these different ways to play, and every time you play, it's a different way, right? But all of these games that are single player games, at some point in time, you could put it down 3 days after you play it. You could put it down 5 months after you play it. But live service games, there's a chance that people are going to buy microtransactions, and they're going to come back every season, right? So less minimal viable product to make more money than putting all the time and resources in a game that takes 6 years, 7 years to make. Right, Travis, but that's why this is why they're going towards it. Why was everyone making MMOs back in the 90s, right? When an MMO came out in the late 90s and then in the 2000s, everybody was making an MMO. Why? Right? Why? Because that was the new hot thing. You could get a $15, $12, $15 monthly payment because of this game, right? Then you're charging the full price, then you're charging a monthly fee, right? That's why MMOs were so popular, because they could make so much money. Then they decided to take MMOs, okay, and then put it in between microtransactions. So not only now do you have MMOs, but now you have MMOs that you pay a monthly fee. Then you get to include the microtransactions on top of that. Then they went, wait a minute, well, let's just give the game for free, and then we'll charge a lot more for MMO prices. Sony that made what? What are you talking about, Mo? Correct. We should have drawn the line there and said no. But just like a society, we caved. Right? Because it's about convenience. It's about convenience. Let's be honest. We don't care, right? Majority of the people, because we here in the chat are the minority of people that care, right? And I would assume that the people that are here, there's a small percentage of people here that also don't care about microtransactions. They'll pay for them, right? So the people that don't care about or that don't partake in microtransactions, we are the minority of the gaming sphere. Okay? We are the minority of the gaming sphere. Cujo says, I saw a report gamers will spend over 20 million in microtransactions. I'm sorry, 20 billion with a B, billion in microtransactions in the next year. Like, holy Christ. Same, Salty, right? But I would assume, right, real quick in chat, right? Actually, yeah, real quick in chat, those of you who want to participate, how many of you have purchased a microtransaction? Put a 1 in chat if you've purchased a microtransaction. Put a 2 in chat if you haven't. Okay? Right? If you don't buy microtransactions, put 2. If you do buy microtransactions, put 1. This is not a judge, right? I just want to show like the minority. We have 18 people here. Okay? Travis can't follow directions. He can't follow directions. Right? Right? I think that people that don't buy microtransactions are a small percentage. It's almost like the swap that happened in 17 to 18 with digital to physical, right? People are all like, oh, I want physical. But when it came push to shove, everyone went digital and it swapped 2080 the opposite direction, right? I typed before you gave the rules, you asked. I don't know if that's true because I would have believed you. I would have believed you, Travis, if Soups didn't vote 1 before you said never. I'm just saying, because if Soups heard me, that means it was already said before you typed it. I've bought a never again unless I really like it, right? What's the vote for? If you spent something on a microtransaction, right? If you spent something on a microtransaction, 1 if you spent on a microtransaction, 2 if you haven't. Pepsi or Coke? Stop it, Sarge. Now you're dividing the community. Come on, Thorish. Fortnite's a thing. So my point is, look, we're a very small community here, right? We're a very small community. And half of us, more than half, I would say, of the people that voted, right? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people that voted 1. And three people that voted 2. Okay? Again, very small community. The minority of the people that don't buy microtransactions are the one of the few. Now, this is why live service games are the hot commodity. This is why more games come out, and they don't care. They don't care if a live service game fails, because a live service game, it could be anything from like Battlefront, right, to Diablo, to an MMO. They're all live service now. So if you have a game that takes, Battlefront was made in 15 months, right? Fallout 76 was made in, I think, 11 or 12. If you can make a game in 11 or 12 months, get it out the door, and then charge full price for microtransactions in the store, what do you think studios are going to do? Doesn't mean all their games are going to be that way, but what are you going to do if you're a developer that wants to make money and you're like, wait a minute, we could invest 5 years into a game, put it out there, and then maybe we'll make it, right? Maybe we'll hit that lottery ticket of we make a good game, people like our game, and then it sells a lot of copies. Or we make a live service game where we get money up front and then we get monthly increments every single day. Do you know what I mean? Exactly it. So Coke Company then. Coke Company then. My chat shows I said never before anyone said anything 1 or 2. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you. Here. Where's the 1? There you go, Travis. So you don't think I'm lying, right? There it is. Soups 1. Travis never. Kylo 1. Water 1. Within seconds. Within seconds. Milliseconds. So let's go to the next thing with which Xbox, because I want to move on to the Wayfinder after that. Okay. The next thing for Xbox is Xbox enforces strike system. Now I don't know if I like this, right? I don't know if I like this, because this is anyone can basically report you. Like right now, if I see your gamer tag and I just want to be a dick, I report you, and that's a strike against me unless proven otherwise, right? It's an opt out than an opt in type of thing. So Xbox new enforced strike system educates players about enforcement severity, cumulative effect of multiple enforcements, and the total impact of their standing. Players can receive a total of 8 strikes. Each strike remains on record for 6 months. Each strike results in suspension from Xbox social features for a variety of lengths of time. Every player will begin with a blank slate, or 0 strikes previously enforced must still be completed. Okay. So a new system attaches strikes to every enforcement ranging in severity based on inappropriate activities. Each player will now have to view their enforcement history, including strikes and overall impact these have on their player record. This revisited system gives players a better understanding of enforcement severity and cumulatively effects of multiple enforcements. Enforcement's transparency is about giving players clarity into how their behavior impacts their experiences. Our contact moderation's efforts are not changing as a result of new enforcement strike system. As always, when a player believes that they have witnessed a violation of Xbox community standards, now, this is a broad range, right? Because if I call you an ass, you could take a complete offense to it, and you could report me because I called you an ass and not like something really bad, right? In just a moment of anger or whatever, on a like we're going for a point. You don't hold the point. We lose the point. We lose the game. And I'm like, you asshole, right? We lost the point because of you. Someone could get upset about that and report you, right? So now I'm supposed to go, gosh darn it. And even if I say gosh darn it, someone could get upset with that and be like, he said gosh darn it to me. Okay. So there's no automated enforced action based solely on the fact the report was made. No volume inaccurate reports result in an enforcement. Only reports that have been reviewed by the Xbox safety team and determined to be accurate results in the enforcement. Now, the fact that they're saying this, that it's going to be manually by an actual person when it's reported, it's interesting because that's a lot of people have to listen to a lot of different things and make sure, right? So with the new system, enforcement will also include strikes based on the severity of their actions. The system is similar to determined strikes used in driver's license systems in many countries. For example, a player that receives 2 strikes will be suspended from the platform for 1 day, whereas a player that receives 4 strikes will be suspended for 7 days. Players have a total of 8 strikes. At once reached, it will be suspended from Xbox social features like messaging, parties, party chat, multiplayer, and others for 1 year from the enforcement date. All strikes received stay on players' records for 6 months. Today, a player will be also begin with a blank slate at 0 strikes. Any previous enforcements, such as suspensions, must still be completed. New enforcements as today will result in strikes. I wonder, because it doesn't say here, I wonder if you get, in a public forum, if I say something or you say something, you get suspended. Let's say you get 8 strikes. Are you suspended from all communications, even in my friends list? Like, I can't even communicate with the people on my personal friends list? That'd be interesting. Now, with these changes, Xbox is evolving enforcement to focus on protecting players. This is why even suspended accounts remain functional for single-player experiences, and players do not lose access to purchase content. Of course not. Why would they punish you to purchase something? Can you imagine? That would be a punishment on themselves. They'd be like, well, we punished you. You can't play for a year. They'll be like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to another system. However, for the most serious violations, including illegal activity, Xbox retains the ability to permanently suspend all functionality of your account, including access to purchase. So if you like death threats, I would assume. Okay. I would assume it's something along the lines. So they have a little chart here. Okay. It says 0 strikes. Users starting with 0 strikes. Okay. Suspension 1, user reported for gamer tag, right? Your gamer tag's offensive to somebody, you have a dick in it or something, right? And it says moderator reviews and categorizes as profanity. So now you move on, you have 1 strike. Suspension 2, user reported for message, right? So you said a dumb message, moderator reviews and categorizes as hate speech. You get 2 more suspensions. That's 2 suspensions. You got 4 of 8 strikes. Appeal from suspension 2, user wins appeal, okay? Strikes removed as a result of suspension appeal. So you minus the 3 and you're back to 1 strike. I'll be honest with you. I don't need to log into my Xbox to see if how many points I have left and if it's worth cursing at somebody or not. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I don't check in on my driver's license to see if I have how many points left before I drive. Okay, I don't need to do this. So in 2022, fewer than 1% of all players receive a temporary suspension, and only 1/3 of those received a second. Our data shows us that the players typically stop inappropriate behavior after 1 enforcement. Then why do you have 8 strikes? Quickly learning that is and is not acceptable based on Xbox community standards, and how it's better to engage on our platform. The strike system designates a further empowered players to engage positively and appropriately on Xbox with the community. We'll share data updates in biannually transparency report. Below is a visual of what players will see in enforcement history. Okay, so this is okay, so like before, players are still to have the ability to appeal eligible enforcements. Excuse me, where acceptable. If it's an enforcement to reverse or corresponding strike will be removed. For more information, visit here. Now below, some additional safety resources. See your enforcement history. Join ambassadors and be part of the community working to make gaming fun for everyone. I think this goes into a different conversation. I really do. If this stat's correct, in 2022, fewer than 1% of players receive a temporary suspension, and only 1/3 of those received a second. 1/3 of 1%. 1/3 of 1% received a second suspension type of thing. So why is this such a big thing, though, that they made it 8 strikes? What does this do? You know what I mean? 1% of all players. So there's 21 million people that are playing Xbox on the next generation, right? There's over 100 million people playing Xbox, on the older version, plus the newer version, and then whatever they play on PC as well. Okay. If only 1%, right? We're talking 100,000 people. No, 1,000 people. Right? 1% of a million is 100, right? So if it's 22, yeah, okay. You're doing 100,000. 100,000, 200,000 people of 20 million are doing hate speech and temporary suspension. So then why are they doing this? And then the question is, if you have, I'm assuming it's a lot of kids that do this, not adults, right? There's adults that lose their temper and whatnot, but I'm assuming it's like people my son's age or like 12 or 13-year-olds that are cursing at somebody, saying something derogatory or something stupid because their brains are just not developed and they say something. We've all been there, right? We've all been in a Call of Duty lobby when we were younger, or even SOCOM and whatnot. So I would assume that a lot of parents need to like step up their game, right? If you hear your kids screaming in the next room, slurs or whatnot, then you need to take action on teaching how internet works, right? Like, to me, this just says that a lot of people, we know stories that a lot of girls don't use the internet to talk online because they get harassed because horny little boys, or just people that think because it's a girl they don't know how to play video games, right? So I'm assuming there's a lot going on where most people don't even play or talk online. And then the people that do talk online, now they're being another hoop to jump through if you get a problem. Because if someone doesn't like you, the way you play or whatnot, they're just wasting people's time. They submit, it goes through review, a manual review has to come in, and then they have to go through, and let's say they get it. Then you have to repeal. I don't know, man. What do you guys think in chat? Do you think this is worth what they're doing? I mean, obviously there needs to be something in place, but from their stats of 1% of all players receive a temporary suspension, and then only 1/3 of that make a second suspension, why would they do a point system with 8 strikes? Just doesn't seem like to make sense. Travis says a strike you because you like the color red. This is a great idea. I don't know what they're gonna do. Kylo says, I'm never going to game chat again. People are about to get banned for being better than them in the game. That's what I'm saying, Kylo, right? People can, even though it's being manually reviewed, people will just do it just to do it. Even if you say something really bad, it's still just don't play with that person or get censored, right? But it's so easy just to mute something. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could literally mute someone in I don't know, half a second. COD lobbies made you as a human being, right? Hey, you learn your whole vocabulary from the Call of Duty, right? It goes into much bigger problems. Freedom of speech is being destroyed, Mike. I don't know if it's really considered freedom of speech, right? Because it's not. I mean, it is, but it isn't, right? Obviously, they're providing a service, and you're using that service, and they can tell you who or what not to be on that platform, right? You're paying money to be on that platform. So I wouldn't really consider that as freedom of speech, right? You can say whatever you want, but there's also repercussions for what you say, right? Like in reality, Travis, if we're in real life and we're playing an arcade game and you call me something, a name, and I don't like what you said, I could punch you, and then you could punch me. That's freedom of speech, but there's also consequences to your freedom of speech, right? Not saying I would, but my point is saying that you can't say what is offensive. It's how freedom of speech dies. No, but they can. That's exactly right, because it's on their own platform. Again, you can say what you want, but there's repercussions. It's repercussions by someone reporting you, someone muting you, someone not playing with you. There's always consequences to that. What's going on, Farmer? DEI compliance. Yes, it's so easy that just to make it so everyone fails into a way of thinking. I used to do it with the squeakers on Friday the 13th mute. Oh yeah, I mute them all the time. So all the time. There's literally just a mute, like super fast. I do it in Battle Bits Remastered, right? They make it super easy. It's F1 or F2. Whoever's making the noise, you just go F1, F2, F3, right? And it mutes them instantaneously. Oh yeah, I beat the shit out of me, but I still got to say it, but I might not talk again for a while if you break my jaw. But that's the same thing. Like, take your example, Travis. If in real life, if you said something and then someone didn't like what you said and they smacked you or yelled at you or whatever, they're telling you, right? Like if my son does something and he broke something, I'm gonna smack his hand or back of the head, go, what are you doing? Don't do that, right? That's a warning shot type of thing, right? What a cat does to their pets, right? If someone bites, they bite back because they're letting them know, hey, you're going too far, right? There's consequences to your actions, right? So if you decide to do that, then yeah, that person still got to say it. You still got to say it. It's the same thing. If someone says something, then you call them a name, they report it. You got to say what you got to say. They didn't block your freedom of speech, but at the same time, now there's consequences. Now you can't talk again for a couple of days. Oh, you can't do that. Disappoint your child? That's abuse. If my son ever, he would never do this, but if he ever cursed at somebody and I heard it, I would do it right in public. And if someone wants to come at me, you can't cancel someone that doesn't give a shit. Okay? If my son cursed at somebody, my hand would go so far out the back of his head within a split second. Okay? And if someone said something, I'll be like, you want to tell me how to raise my kid? I'm trying to teach my kid not to be a rude prick. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, my son, not even doing anything bad. We were at a restaurant and he laid down and put his feet on the seat where it was a shared bench and the person next to him. And I said, get your feet off the bench, right? And he just looked at me like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. And I gave him a look. I said, I will drag you out here by your neck if you do not pick up your feet off that chair. And what did he do? Do you think he talked back to me in any way, shape, or form? No, his ass sat straight up and was like, sorry, Dad. That's called teaching to be respectful. Now, as far as this goes for Xbox, I just don't understand if 1% did something. Exactly, Salt. Be better. I can't. I just don't understand why they're doing the 8 strikes, 8-point system when 1%. See, again, the minority is changing the way of the majority of people. The majority of people are respectful. They don't say stuff. They don't do it, or more people just kind of just brush it off, right? If someone says something, you mute it. Don't play with that person again. You kind of just filter yourself out, right? I just don't understand the whole 8-point system. Oh, you know the look, Soups, right? I'm sure your dad or mom, grandmother, aunt, somebody gave you a look and you're like, oh shit. Mo, yeah, I remember the first time I cursed in front of my dad as an adult, because I cursed when I was younger by accident against my brother, and I got smacked. My dad's only hit me twice in my entire life. Okay, and up until that point, I think I was like 21, 22, and I cursed at dinner, and I was just like, and he looked at me and didn't do anything. I was just like, oh, okay, we're okay now because I'm an adult. I'm 46 and I still get it. I feel you. Yeah, I feel you. Salt says, I had a dude screaming at me as a family in Texas Tech test. Little did he know he could hear me, but he couldn't hear us. It was a bug in the test. No, no, no. No, once I hit adulthood, he didn't. But the point is, Travis, that because the whole life going forward, I wouldn't curse in front of him. You know what I mean? Like, as an adult, I was just like, oh. He didn't care, but because I was enforced to not talk like that in front of people, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh shit, did I just mess up? Like, even as an adult, you're like, you're still a kid to your parents. At least the people that respect their parents anyway. So what do you guys think of the ruling of the eight strike rule that's happening here? Now, I don't know if PlayStation has some sort of rule in place, but just the Xbox, the 8, again, for most of us, it doesn't affect us in any way, shape, or form. But why have 8 strikes if less than 1% of the population is even getting 1 strike? You know what I'm saying? If only 1%, Mo, is getting 1 strike, and 1/3 of the 1% is getting 2 strikes, then why make it 8? Are they planning on something? Are they planning ahead for something? That's the biggest thing for me. When they said 1% of players receive 1 temporary suspension, and then 1/3, so nobody even gets that third strike, let alone 8 strikes. It's just kind of weird that they're implementing this where the population's it's not a problem. So apparently they really think in the future there's going to be a lot of pansies. If I'm solo in multiplayer game, I start a party so I don't have to deal with that problem. And that's what I'm saying. Most people just kind of filter it out themselves, right? One, if you're in an open environment, you mute your mic and you just like listen, but you don't say anything to anybody because if you don't speak, no one's gonna be talking to you, type of thing. And then if you do hear someone like yelling at you, like you suck at the game or whatever, you probably just take yourself out of that situation. So it's kind of weird that they're doing this. I had a guy tell me yesterday that The Rock should have been canceled. I was like, want to try to go ahead? Like, The Rock, like Dwayne The Rock Johnson should have been canceled? The way I look at stuff is right? The way I look at things is, if you're offended, that's a you problem, right? That's a you problem. Nothing happens if you're offended in any way, right? That's an internal thing. If someone calls me, I'm bald, I'll be like, oh, I'm fat or something. It'd be like, if I take offense, if someone's talking about something, then I'm taking offense, and it's internally with me, right? That's it. So if I'm offended by something, that's my problem. I have to look at it and go, why am I offended by what this person's saying, right? So if I say, which I never call individual to somebody, but if I use retarded and I say, Mike, you're retarded, right? I call myself retarded, right? If I take offense to that, I truly believe that if Travis called me that or someone called me that, then I'm like, maybe I am retarded, right? And then I take offense to it, and then I get vocal about it. But it's like, but if I don't believe that I'm that, then why would I feel that I'm that? You see what I'm saying? Right. You have to take offense. And to take an offense is that you're offended by it, but nothing really happens. Right? Nothing really happens. Just go, okay, well, I'm going to take myself out of the situation. Right? If there's a fight going on or something going on and someone insults me, like, all right, cool. Move away. Someone starts to say random shit, you're like, like right now, if I'm saying something, probably someone's offended, right? And they're like, you know what? I'm going to back out of this conversation because I'm taking offense to what he's saying, right? But that's the good thing. You just kind of pull yourself back. There's no reason to say anything. It's all conversations. This is why comedians are under fire, because when they say a joke, people get offended. But nothing happens when you get offended. Nothing. Right. I like offending people and then following it with no offense. Right. Not to hurt your feelings, right? But right, no offense cleans it up. Man, we grew up so damn different. Did we, Mo? People in my around me growing up, we didn't get offended very much, right? We followed by that rule of uh compared to Gen kids, yeah. Like the saying, sticks and stones may break your bones, but names will never hurt you. Like that's just it. Yeah, I never got offended. I never get offended. You get offended. Like you like laugh it off. It's more like, I guess they call it like bro culture now or whatever it is, right? Like when you bust each other's balls and stuff like that. I know girls are different than guys, but girls still bust each other's, chops and whatnot. You ever see the thing, Mo? Because we're about the same age, right? I'm 45, right? You're around my age. I remember. Where was I going to go with this? Oh, people that are born in the late 70s, early 80s, the Gen Xers, right? You're just outside, but you're probably on the tail end. There's a joke out there that Gen Xers literally raise themselves, can cook, could drive a car, it could do everything by the age of like 7, because that's just the way we grew up, right? Our parents were working 2 jobs each. Like you were cooking yourself, taking care of yourself, you're home by yourself. You figured shit out. Playing victim wasn't seen as a thing to do. It's celebrated in my time. Right. Right. It was play the victim, make it clear. Yeah, it's just weird. I don't know. My son, he wears his emotions on his sleeve, right? I'm trying to raise him as, don't take everything so personal. And I think it's just I don't know. I don't know if it's I don't know what it is, because I'm not raising him that way, right? But he wears his emotions on the sleeve. He gets upset really easy, as far as emotional, not like how do I describe it? Like if you tell him he's doing something wrong, he gets emotional, and I'm like, why are you getting emotional? And I can't relate to him in that aspect, because it was just a different time, just a different time. All right, going from that, let's change subjects. Nomination of Father of the Decade. You actually raising a kid, and I mean that's what I do, Travis. I will drop everything for my family. I will drop everything for my family. When I was younger, it was about money. I wanted money, work a job, get the money. But then when I had a kid and I was working and making money, I was like, I'm not seeing my kid. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about being part of my kid's life, right? And we struggle at times, but it is what it is, right? It is what it is. You have to make money to support your family, but at the same time, there's a time where you got to make sure. My job is to make sure my kid is not an asshole when he grows up, and if he is an asshole, he's a respectful asshole, right? No, the last Fast and Furious, well, family. No, the last one I watched was is the one where they're on the bridge. I think there's like a tank, and Vin Diesel like jumps, and like they collide in midair with like bicycle or like motorcycles. I forget which one that was. There's always bridges, so I'm not sure which one. I think it was 6. I think it was 6, the last one I watched. That's all of them. Yeah, I that's it. They're always on bridges, and they're always doing something crazy. I'm not sure which bridge. The bridge in 5, the bridge in 6. It's where, yeah, they're on a bridge and they're going opposite directions, and then he like leaps and catches her in midair. I was like, yeah, that wouldn't happen. I was like, they're both dead. They both have like concussions, and they're not walking anymore. Not to be confused with I didn't see the last one. My brother told me about it, where he takes the car and he runs off the dam and rides the dam down or whatever. All right, the next thing we're gonna talk about is Wayfinder. Force Gaming. Description down below. I have his name in the description. We're gonna be watching his video from 5 months ago. Okay, from 5 months ago. Okay, Force Gaming talks about Wayfinder, and he goes into depth of what it is. The reason I'm doing this is because, one, I'm not taking any views away from him, because it's 5 months ago, and he's already got the 730,000 views or 720,000 views. But if you could, go over to Force Gaming, because he doesn't need my help, all right? But I love watching him. He's very insightful for when he talks about games, and tells it basically how it is. Gives you the info that you need to know. And since Wayfinder's coming out, or was supposed to come out yesterday, it's now coming out on PC on the 17th, and it's delayed indefinitely right now on the PlayStation 5, according to reports. We're going to watch this, and we're going to find out, and we're going to talk about it as we'll pause it as he talks about stuff, right? So let's go over Wayfinder here.
What if you took the gameplay loop, grinding, character, and progression systems of Warframe, combined that with some MMO-light open zone elements of, say, something like Destiny, and topped it all off with the visual stylings of games like WildStar, Fable, or World of Warcraft? Well, Wayfinder is what you would get, and that, more or less in an oversimplified nutshell, is exactly what this game is. Now, last week, I got the chance to go hands-on with Wayfinder, playing roughly 25 hours of this upcoming action combat
and we are watching it.
MMO, and
we are watching it at 1.25. So let me know if it's a little too fast, because it's 40 minutes. It's 40 minutes. So taking at the 1.25, it's going to knock off like 5-6 minutes off of it. So
I've come away mostly impressed, beyond a few notable issues with performance, concerns about the overall scope of the game, and a gameplay loop that likely won't resonate with everyone. You better like procedural dungeon grinding. Fortunately, I do, and thanks to a really...
Yeah, there's a lot of... I'm having a seizure, it's too fast. It's not too fast. You didn't even know it was like that until I said something. So there is a lot of dungeons, and it's randomly... Take what Warframe did, where it's like procedurally generated type of stuff. It's procedurally generated dungeons in this game.
Well executed combat system that feels fun to play, along with what looks to be thus far some great encounter variety and design. I've enjoyed just about every...
The graphics also remind me a little bit of like World of Warcraft meets like Dauntless type of stuff.
Minute of my time with Wayfinder. In fact, I found that the more I kept playing the game, the more I was enjoying it and wanted to just keep on playing, which is a really good sign in my book, as I tend to feel so many games start to lose their luster around the 15 to 20 hour mark, but I have come away just enjoying the game more and more. So today I want to talk with you about Wayfinder. I want to talk about the structure, the various systems and mechanics, what there is to do in the game, like what you can expect in any given session, and then also go over some of what I think they are doing right. And
no, he actually liked the dungeon, Salty, when they first came for Diablo. He also did say in Diablo that he could see it getting a little, I don't know if he used the word monotonous or not, but there's also the pre-game when he did it, when he was playing the early access stuff.
And what could use some improvement based on my time with it so far. First of all, let's briefly touch on this genre thing. So
you gotta remember, this is 5 months ago. This video is 5 months ago, so this is before Diablo even came out. Keep that in mind.
They are calling Wayfinder an MMO, and it is an MMO in the same way some might consider Destiny or Warframe an MMO. Personally, I would classify this as a shared world game, or MMO Lite gets used sometimes as well. Don't come to Wayfinder.
Yeah, this is not an MMO. This is definitely a shared world.
Thinking you're getting an experience similar to World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls Online, or Guild Wars 2. It is not that kind of a game. Yeah. Wayfinder isn't made up of like massive continents that are broken up into large zones that you can seamlessly explore with like tens or hundreds of other players potentially running around. No, its structure is a lot more like a smaller scale fantasy version of Destiny.
It's a good example. Right? Smaller scale Destiny.
Basically, the game is broken up into two main parts.
Fantasy.
The overland open zone areas, of which there are just a couple, and then the instanced dungeons where you are likely to be spending most of your time. In the open world, you will be seeing a handful of other players at a time. Dungeons will include groups of up to 3, and you'll see the highest concentration of other people, I think around like 20 or 30 maybe, in the game's major towns. But call it whatever you like, honestly, it doesn't really matter. I just kind of wanted to set expectations for what sort of a multiplayer shared world game Wayfinder is. And speaking of which, let's get into it. What is Wayfinder like? So things start out with you playing through a brief tutorial. You will pick a starting character, not class, by the way. They are going...
Yeah, it's not... So each of the characters that you have, you can make them in any class that you want. You don't have to stick with what it is.
With the Warframe route here, where you play as a pre-established character that has a set identity, a name, a personality, and then its own unique traits and skills. Much of what they're doing actually with the design and structure of this game aligns very much so with Warframe, which will become more evident as we go along here. So you pick a character, then you get introduced to the basics of movement and combat. This is an action combat game through and through, with everything you might expect it to have. There are light and heavy attacks, combos where you can chain or alternate between those, and then there's things like jumping and dashing attacks. There is blocking and dodging. Although it's not as deep of a melee combat system as, say, Souls games with all of the attacks, combos, and then contextual variations that those have, Wayfinder does at least cover most of the basics, and the combat in general, it all feels really good. So after the tutorial,
I can concur. The combat in this game did feel good when I played it. Like I said, I played it about like 6 or 7 hours in the 2 betas that came out. I enjoyed my time with the game, but I can personally see that it would get real grindy real fast. A lot of the stuff wasn't open when the beta that I played.
You are brought into the first major town. This is called Skylight. This is where you're going to pick up a lot of your main and side quest, along with having access to a bunch of different vendors, as well as the crafting stations. We'll get into that stuff later, but I just want to say outright how much I was like immediately impressed with the appearance of this game. Visually, the town's look and design reminds me of a combination of World of Warcraft and WildStar. The buildings and the setting have this real strong Nordic vibe, along with everything being ridiculously oversized that really reminded me of WoW's Wrath of the Lich King expansion in particular. Like, it all feels very reminiscent of various areas and towns within the Howling Fjord specifically, and I
thought that, again, I haven't played the game, like the full game. I thought the town was a bit large and nothing to do. You know what I mean? If you guys remember the way I talk about certain games, like if you're gonna make something, so for instance, in like Destiny, you would have like the shopkeepers, and you would go up to the shopkeepers and go up to the other guys, the vendors, and talk to those vendors. It wasn't like all these buildings and whatnot, and then they didn't do anything. Or the same type of thing where what's happening in Division right now, where now you can go to the vendors or you can go to your menu system. It's the exact same thing. It's like, if you're going to make these worlds feel like actual worlds, then put things in there for me to engage with. Because if it's just buildings to be buildings and I'm running through the area, then it's kind of like pointless to me. Not kind of pointless. It is pointless.
Absolutely love it. But then there's also this like mix of the funky sci-fi tech of WildStar in parts of the city, like in the crafting station areas. You've got all these neon signs and flashing lights, kind of like funky looking. I don't know. I just think this game looks real good aesthetically. I know it might be a little cartoonish for some people, but I personally find it very appealing, and I definitely think it is one of Wayfinder's strong suits. On several occasions while playing the game, I would just go, damn, this all looks real good. So when you first arrive in town, the game takes you through on a series of quests, walking you through the different major areas, introducing you to the NPCs and stations, and then you go on a brief romp through your very first Lost Zone mini dungeon. You clear a few rooms, fight back a large wave of enemies, finish the dungeon, and then they set you off into the first open zone area. So let's talk a little bit about the open world in Wayfinder. All throughout your time playing this game, you will regularly be directed to these open zones.
Yeah, it's a fun game, Travis. But you're right, Soups. I don't know about this one. I'm a little standoffish of it because it's a free-to-play game, but they're also charging 15, 40, 50, 100 bucks, 150 to get in early access, and that kind of puts me off a little bit because just put it out. Like, it's a free-to-play game, right? It's a free-to-play game. But they're going to put it out, and when it comes out, they're going to be charging to play it early access, and then they're going to be charging you microtransactions on top of that, right?
Either through a main story quest, some side mission that you pick up, or just because there are things that you want to do or farm in these areas. I would say that the open areas are decently sized and fully open to seamlessly explore once you initially load in. The open zone that you were first introduced to is called the Highlands, and it's basically like this fantasy woodlands area. So what things are there to do in the open world? Well, you'll go around exploring different points of interest. There's lots of really cool bespoke areas to see here. There's things like the Pit and the Crossroads Foundry, the Bloodworks, Ironstone Keep,
I never played the Darksiders,
a lot of highlights, a lot of areas to see. And then all throughout, you will of course come across plenty of enemies to fight. You're going to see things like goblins and bandits. There are mutants and various elementals, as well as wildlife like bears and deer and things along those lines. And every single enemy has a set level. So when you first start out,
oh, well, that's perfect, right? Because that's better than Diablo already, because I hate that Diablo 4 scales everything to you.
There'll be some safe spots for you to explore where everything is around your level, but then you will come across places that are too dangerous because the enemies are way stronger than you. Now, as you play, you level up, you get stronger, and then all of a sudden those low-level enemies can be dealt with in 1 or 2 hits, and then you naturally progress.
That's the way it should be.
To being able to access the higher level areas. But yes, it does appear like there is no scaling of enemies within the open zone area. There are public events to do scattered all throughout. There will be small ones, like you'll come across these locked chests that can only be opened once you kill all of the enemies surrounding it, and those enemies will also have chains wrapped around them, which I thought was a neat little touch. There are much larger difficult events, like say the summoning rituals, where you have to eliminate.
I haven't, Salty. I heard when it first came out, the beta test that was happening, or the alpha test that was happening, it was in bad shape, and I was just like, yeah, I don't need to play that. I'll wait till they like figure it out and fix the game, and then maybe I'll go down the road, I'll try it.
The summoner goblins and a few of their minions before a timer runs out. You'll also encounter these portals where creatures will spawn in from other dimensions, and there's a variety of other just open world events that you'll come across, including some massive world bosses that will roam around in particular areas.
This game reminds me of Dauntless so much. Like the graphic style and the fighting style.
We'll pick up side quests from the various NPCs found in town, as well as some open world quest hubs that are found in the world. Also, some objects found in the world will grant you side quests, and these ask you to do the typical RPG side questing fare: collect some items, eliminate targets, gather resources. There are also a variety of collectibles and resources to pick up, so you'll find ore nodes scattered all around. You hit these, they automatically vacuum up. There will be chests that have loot in them. Some of these will be obvious, others are hidden or even buried. Like you'll find locations where there's some rubble and debris on the ground, and then by interacting with it, the chest will reveal, or sometimes enemies will spawn in instead. And then also there are these memory fragments.
Fortnite
these are
RPG,
these glowing yellow
yeah.
orbs. You'll find these all over the place, both in the open world and in dungeons, and they're used for a lot of the game's progression systems, specifically for unlocking new weapon masteries, for crafting new wayfinders, and then for upgrading your echoes, which are kind of like the game's version of gems. So when I first got into the Highlands, I actually had the impression that it was kind of a small space. Like, as I first ventured out and pulling up the map, it seemed like a relatively tiny area compared to a typical MMO open world zone. But I gotta say, as I spent more time,
I hope they have more. I only explored the first area a little bit. I didn't even go too in depth.
Playing and exploring, I have come to find that it's all rather dense. I think this is largely due to their use of layering the environment. Like, this isn't just some flat terrain for you to walk over. There are multiple levels to the entire thing. So you'll find castles and ruins, towers, hills, and rocky formations that tend to expand upwards. And then there will be tunnels, caves, and low valleys that go low, and even in some cases underneath parts of the map. And then lots of paths and interconnected access points between all of this. There will be lots of spots where you're actually required to do some sort of navigation on your part in order to get through. There'll be like jumping puzzles to get up to or across an area, or you'll have to use some of the game's various traversal tools.
I did like the matchmaking when you go into dungeons. It's real quick. You get in.
That are in the environment, which include things like zipline locations, various ladders, and even elevators. Now, I wouldn't call these open zones massive, though. In fact, just out of curiosity, I wanted to test how long it took to get from one point to the other. So I ran from the tippity top of the map, where you first spawn in at the elevator, all the way down to the southernmost point, and it clocked in at roughly 5 minutes, which even included some checking the map and getting lost briefly and having to wait for my stamina to regenerate. So the total surface area here, not exactly
15,
huge, but I will
Travis,
say it is designed and layered in a way
version.
that does make it feel pretty dense and interesting to
the 150 would the 150 shows me that there's a lot of fucking grinding to do, is what it shows me.
explore. Also, you wouldn't ever really just run straight from.
But even with the 150, it only gets you like 20 levels, 25 levels in that tower system. But like, how much time is that worth? You know what I mean? Like, how much time, if I pay the 150 and it gets me the 25 levels of the tower section, how fast can I do the 25 levels with the $15 section? You know what I mean?
One end to the other. There's no reason to. It doesn't make sense. There's no purpose behind it. Usually, when you're in the open world,
right, the basic version of free-to-play is free, right? And that's exactly right.
You are there to do something, be that farming enemies, collecting orbs, participating in events, or doing any of your main or side quests. So just running across the map is something you'll never actually want or need to do, especially since the game has fast travel locations, these signal fires that once you unlock, you can just instantly teleport to between the zone with no loading screens. Now remember, they did go as far as to make the distinction and call this game an MMO, and as such, you will be running into other players. You'll see them engaged in combat with a pack of enemies, traversing the environment, collecting orbs, or doing any of the public events or side quests of their.
I will kill someone for Darksiders. I mean, I will shank someone. First person I see.
Own, all of which, by the way, you can join up with them at any given time. The game does look to incentivize team play by having instance drops, like just being next to someone who kills an enemy or opens a chest would actually drop loot for me to collect as well, so there's no sense of competition when it comes to fighting enemies and engaging with the open world stuff. Now, in terms of how many players you're going to see in the world, well, I'll tell you, the most I would ever come across at any one time, I think, was like 3 people. Although the entire zone does hold more than that, I've never actually seen large groups of players all in a single spot at any given time. They are there, but it's...
Here's my problem with the dungeons, right? So obviously when you play for the first, I don't know, 10 hours, if you're going through playing the game and just doing the thing and you're not just doing dungeons, when you go into a dungeon, even though it's procedurally generated, they're going to have the same type of formats, you know what I mean? And once you learn that type of format, you're like, oh, it's this way. I feel like it's going to burn the candle real fast. You're going to get bored of it.
Just you're going to occasionally run across them. There aren't really a lot of instances where they're all going to be gathered, most likely, unless you are specifically coordinating gathering with the people in your particular instance. All in all, I will say I do feel like they've done a fairly solid job in executing their version of this open shared world. These areas do feel pretty enjoyable to explore. Unfortunately, there's only 2 of them. Like I said, the zone that you are initially introduced to is called the Highlands. Now, after progressing through several hours of the main story quest, along with doing a bit of grinding and leveling up, you will eventually be brought to the second zone called Reaver's Woods. This is like the snow-swept region. It is an entirely new area filled with all new things to do, new landscapes to explore, enemies to fight, and resources
Travis, how does this not look like Dauntless to you?
to collect. But from what I understand, these 2 zones...
I never played Darksiders, so I don't know what Darksiders looks like. I can look it up after this. Or after the stream, but This just reminds me of Dauntless.
Are the only 2 zones that the game is planning to launch with into early access. And if that is true, I do feel like that is far too few. I would have guessed or helped for, I don't know, like 5 or 6 zones, if not 10 or 15.
There's only 2 major zones right now.
With only 2, I think may very well leave some people feeling like there's not enough open world content.
This is my thing, right? And I said this, and people think I'm crazy, right? I guarantee you, this game might be in early access for 2 years now, whatever. But it needs 5 years. And yet they'll launch it on 3 and then work on it for the next 2 to make a total of 5.
Now, at the same time, none of that may matter because the open zones, you are not going to be spending a majority of your time there. Most of your time, I would guess somewhere between 70 and 80% will be in the lost zones. Now, these are instanced, procedurally structured dungeons that you will be running over and over and over again for the sake of gathering resources, currencies, and the game's loot. Like mentioned earlier, after the tutorial you were brought through.
Here's a problem I see right off the bat. If they do the exact same thing that Diablo is doing right now, or any other looter, where if you have this open world thing, and the only place that I can get the resources is in the dungeons, then what's the point of the rest of the game? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why companies keep making these live service, open world shared games, and they always do the pyramid area. Not the pyramid scheme, but the pyramid where, like, you start off and you have all these things to do, but then as you go higher and higher, right, you have less and less things to do, and like the most minute resources are only in these sections, and then you're going to go into this dungeon, you're going to run the dungeons over and over just so you can hit the tip of the pyramid and go, this is exactly what we're doing. What are you doing today? We're doing the raid, we're doing the strike, we're doing this dungeon, the main dungeon, the nightmare dungeon, whatever it is. You only can do the one thing. It's like, that is bad game design in 2023. It needs to be an upside down triangle where you start off and it's, as you go, it gets wider and wider and there's more things to do and you can play the game how you want to play. But they don't want to do that because there's microtransactions involved. And I'm not just picking on Wayfinder. It's all these live service games with microtransactions. And if they make you can go anywhere and get the resources that you need, then you wouldn't play the game that they want you to play where it takes too long to get it because you only can do it 3 a week or 2 a week or 1 a week. And then the finite where you have to make 10 characters and then do 10 characters doing the dailies and the weeklies and only doing the exact same thing just so you can get a microtransaction. It's like, well, put 100 hours in or give us $29.99 for the next thing.
Through a brief, roughly 5-minute dungeon run, the main quest giver called Omen asks you to step into your first lost zone at the Gloom Gate, which is this massive, like, dimensional portal sitting just on the edge of town. So you spawn into these ruins and are asked to find the Codex Ember. You make your way from one hallway to the next with rooms connected in between, fighting back goblins and spiders, opening chests and collecting resources along the way. And then there is this giant purple barrier you break through with your dagger, which opens up access to some more hallways and rooms full of enemies. You keep on going until you reach the final room, which is like this wide open arena. There, a large group of enemies spawn in and an ambush. Defeating them lets you open up the Gloom Anchor, where you collect your bonus rewards,
these are like
complete
random
the dungeon, and
last
zone out.
stand
Now, structurally,
type of
this
thing.
is the basic experience of running a dungeon. It
You
of
fight
course
a
gets
boss,
much
you
more
can fight a
varied
group of
in
people.
layout and appearance, and there is a wide variety of different side objectives, hazards, and puzzles for you to solve. But the general flow is the same. Zone in, move through the dungeon, navigating hallways, rooms, and some bespoke areas here and there, all placed and laid out in a procedural fashion until you finally make your way to this final room where you fight back an ambush or a boss, and then the dungeon is complete. Now, to help keep things fresh, though, the game has multiple zones or locations or tile sets, if you want to call it, where these dungeons take place. And this adds a lot of variety to how the dungeons look, to the things that you'll encounter, and even the enemies that you will fight. This isn't just a coat of paint either. Each dungeon location is rather distinct in not only its appearance, but also the structure and layout and design of the rooms that you move through. So after that initial mini dungeon, you're brought out into the open world, and you have to complete a few tasks, and then you're asked to find the entrance to what's called the Codex Halls. Now, this is an actual physical...
I only played 6 hours. Right, 6 hours of kind of like really casual, Travis. I would turn it on. I would do like a mission, turn it off, come back, do a couple things, do a dungeon, explore. It was more of me exploring the world and what it was than me actually playing and like playing the game for what it is. So would I say it's repetitive? In the time that I played for the 6 hours, 7 hours that I put into it, it's not any more repetitive than any other game I've ever played. right? It didn't feel like a slog to go through the dungeon to do the dungeon. I played with a bunch of random people. I found like where certain things were. When I went into the next dungeon, I kind of looked for the same things. You know what I mean? It didn't feel bad, but it also didn't feel like fresh and new.
Location in the Highlands open zone. So you'll have to go there in order to gain access. You'll make your way over. Maybe you'll do some of the open world activities that we talked about earlier while en route. And then once you arrive, you go through, you complete the dungeon, at which point the Codex Halls then becomes available as a new option to open up and run from within town at that big portal called the Gloom Anchor. And that is how the sort of main story progression is tied into the dungeon farming in this game. There will be various steps in between some of the main story quests, but essentially once you reach a dungeon and then clear it in the main story quest, that dungeon and that kind of tile set is then unlocked back in town, at which point you can just keep running it over and over and over again, and it'll all be slightly different each time thanks to how this...
Yeah, and that's a good game design. The randomness of the procedurally generated dungeons keeps it fresh. But again, keeps it fresh for a longer period of time. When you see like this room, you see this room again, maybe the rooms that are connected are different, but when you see this room, it's the same room. That makes sense.
This whole procedural placement of rooms works, which if you're wondering, structurally, it's more or less like a variation in the combination of rooms and then the connecting pieces.
We talked about it on GXG this past week.
So you'll have hallways that lead into a small room maybe, and then maybe that small room has multiple hallways branching off of it in different directions. So you go down one hallway, and then maybe there's a big room that has multiple levels. There could be some stuff in between that, maybe some side quest or boss or groups of enemies to fight, but then that big room also has some hallways branching off of it. Or maybe it doesn't, and then you head back in the other direction.
This is Wayfinder, Mo. This is Wayfinder. We're supposed to come out yesterday. People were asking me, are you going to play it? And I said, I'm going to wait. And then we found out that it was delayed because they're having problems with the servers or whatnot. So what they did was they still come out for PC tomorrow now, but it's delayed indefinite right now for PlayStation 5 until further notice.
You go down some other hallways and
then it comes out for Xbox next year.
You find a room with a puzzle, and then maybe you have to go back to the main area, or maybe that...
And let me say this, okay? Let me say this, because a lot of people give crap to Xbox. Now, I don't know why it's not coming out for Xbox at the same time as PlayStation, but right now, if you want to play the game, a free-to-play game, you have to pay PC or Sony to play this, either 15, 40, 80, 100, or $150. I think there's like 5 plans, okay? Meanwhile, it doesn't come to Xbox, and when it does come to Xbox, the time it comes for Xbox, it's going to be a free-to-play game like it's supposed to be.
That puzzle room now has a branching path leading you further and deeper into the dungeon, and then maybe you come across a little event, and maybe you find a room with a side quest and NPCs. There's so many...
Wait, Xbox before Sony? Nope, don't care. What do you mean Xbox before Sony? No, it's coming to Sony and PC first.
Possibilities, because they just basically take this entire collection of rooms within each one of the dungeons.
Yeah, it comes out for PC tomorrow.
They just piece them together differently every time you run through the dungeon. I think the best way to think of it is that every dungeon location has a set number of building blocks, and then how they're connected and laid out will change from one run to the next.
So you hear what he just said? So let's say there's 15 building blocks, right? It's procedurally generated, and they take those 15 building blocks, and then they and then put it on, right? So my problem is, sure, it's procedurally generated, but you're gonna see the same parts connected, and if you see the same parts connected, you're gonna know that the chest is hidden there, or this door opens here, type of thing.
You will not always be seeing the exact same room.
No, it's not delayed. Not delayed. The delay is for PlayStation 5 because of server issues. They said it's just indefinite until further notice, so it could come out Friday or Saturday, or it could come out 4 weeks from now for PlayStation 5. But the problem is that they're charging, right? If it's a free-to-play game, then just put it out there. There's no difference between alpha test, beta test, preview program, and then early access for $15.
Every single run. But yes, it is the case that as the more you play and say you keep running the Codex Halls over and over and over again, you're going to keep seeing the same room types. They will just be presented in a different fashion, but it will get repetitive because that is simply how this sort of procedural dungeon structure
Agreed, Big T. Agreed.
Structure works in these kind of a game. But again, each dungeon location has its own separate building blocks. So in total, the build that I played had 9 base dungeon locations. The first one you unlocked was the Codex Halls. You kept on playing. Eventually, you unlocked the Undercroft as well as the Repository. And then there were 3 separate mine locations, each which had a different layout and look to them. And there are 3 additional locations within the Reaver Woods, which is that second kind of snow-themed zones. So there are 9 dungeon stylings, more or less, each with their own distinct bespoke layouts and presentation and enemies and things and puzzles to do within them, which all combined together does add a lot of variety. And there's a lot of other things to keep things fresh and mix it up further. So everything that I've been describing thus far would fall under the category of an expedition. But on top of that, every dungeon location also has hunts that you can go on, which are basically like single room boss fights. You'll have to craft a special key every time you want to.
This is where the store wasn't open. Like the microtransactions thing wasn't open when I played, right? So when you look at this stuff
that you can go on, which are basically like single room boss fights, you'll have to.
You see all the materials and stuff that you have. Like these are going to be things that you're going for, right? Crafting ingredients you need the gold, the spectras, you need the resources to get these things to put on your actual character. And it is that pyramid, as Big T is saying.
To craft a special key every time you want to go on a hunt, and then that key unlocks access to a fight of that particular associated boss. Then on top of that, there is the difficulty scaling. So whenever you complete successfully a dungeon run, you unlock the next tier of difficulty for that dungeon. So you start off at level 1. If you do that successfully, you unlock level 2, which will scale everything up to be tankier and deal more damage. With each one of these levels, there is an associated recommended gear score, basically, and this keeps on progressing forward. I personally saw as much as 5 difficulty tiers for the dungeons, although there may be more. I'm just unsure. I simply didn't progress that far in the time that I played. Now, on top of that, there is also this.
There's no difference between like that and what the tier level is for like Diablo.
Imbuement system, and this adds another layer of difficulty by enhancing enemies in the dungeons with affixes. So, for example, the Shadow Imbuement will make it so that every
Nightmare Dungeons, anyone?
Enemy that dies will then blow up after a few seconds. Now, there are multiple elemental imbuement types, and each one of these will do something different. Adding an imbuement to your run, of course, makes everything harder because of the affix and the enhanced enemies, but then also gives you better rewards. And eventually, as you progress, you will unlock the ability to apply multiple imbuments to a single run, which also, as it turns out, is a good way to farm for unlocking the various pieces required to craft new wayfinders, because you start the game with one, and you have to make the rest very similar to how it works in Warframe. I will say, while there is absolutely a lot of repetition to the process of running dungeons, since it is a large part of what you're going to.
Well, don't worry, Farmer. When it comes out for Xbox, it'll actually be free then. You don't have to pay to play it. Like right now, if you want to play it on PlayStation 5 or PC, you got to pay.
Going to be doing, and what you will likely be spending most of your time for progressing your character as well as progressing your weapons. And you will be seeing the same areas over and over again, coming across the same rooms, the same hallways, the same path types, run after run after run. I do feel like the way they do procedural placement really does help mix things up and keep it varied. That in conjunction with the fact that they've got these 9 different dungeon locations, and I assume, and as far as we know, they will be adding more of these kind of tile sets of these dungeon locations between now and release. An average dungeon run would take me somewhere in the ballpark of 10 to 15 minutes, and just so you know, if you want to get a general idea for like what the flow is of any particular play session, personally, I found that it would look like this. I would log in and probably run a dungeon like 2 to 3 times, and then maybe I would go on a couple of boss hunts, and then after that, I wod head out into the open world. I would do some side quests and events. I'd collect some things, and then I'd take all of the stuff that I gathered in that process, and I would use it to level up my character.
Now, everything that you say, I'll let him finish.
Power up my gear, and start the loop over again, just continuously progressing and getting more and more powerful, leveling and getting stronger as I keep doing this loop over and over and over. Speaking of which, let's dive into.
Okay, so he's going through and doing this leveling up process, but once you get to endgame, right? Whatever that is, we don't know what that is yet because no one's played enough. At least that's out in the open. Once you get to the endgame, what's going to be different? What's going to be different in, he said, like, oh, my average thing is I do a dungeon, I do a boss fight, I do some events and stuff. That's great. That's like here in the pyramid, right? The pyramid's here. That's like here. But once you get leveled up and you get leveled up and you get leveled up and you're at the max level, what are you doing here? What is this? You know what I mean?
Do the talk about how characters
Same
work,
thing
how
over
the
and over.
customization is, and the game's various progressions.
So it might be fun to put, I don't know, 30 hours in? 20 to 30 hours?
Systems. So as mentioned earlier, in Wayfinder, you are playing as a character. These are not classes like a lot of MMOs do. It is way more akin to how Warframe's frames work. Every single character has a name, they have a backstory, and they come with 4 default abilities along with a few
And I do think along the way, there's a lot of comparisons that we can make here when we do find out about Transformers Reactivate as another free-to-play game. There's going to be comparisons with this and Warframe.
Passives, and all of these things, while they can be modified, they never completely change. Your character is your character. Your 4 default abilities are your 4 default abilities. So the game will be launching with 6 characters or wayfinders in total. There is Wingrave, who is kind of the tank and healer hybrid. Silo, who throws a variety of bombs and can summon decoys. Nis is like a rogue character with a lot of dash attacks, dealing shadow damage.
That's why I
Senja
played.
is the brawler or gladiator with melee punches and grapple hooks. And then there's Kairos, the war mage, with a variety of ranged and spell attacks. The game is also launching with a 6th wayfinder, but that has as of yet not been revealed. I think the rumor is that it is going to be another healer potentially. The character that you first select when going through the tutorial, that is the one that you will be playing for the foreseeable future. They are pretty upfront with this. They give you like a big warning after you play through the tutorial and before you finalize your decision, saying, hey, this is the character that you are going to be stuck with for the time being. Because yes, if like me, you pick Wingrave, but then decide you want to play Nis, for example, you're going to have to do some grinding because all additional characters beyond the first one you select have to be crafted. Now,
Exactly. Right? That's the thing. Every time you make another character, you have to do the same grind over and over. Find it familiar? Yes, that's Destiny. Warlock, Titan, Hunter.
crafting characters involves basically grinding for these rare materials to create 3 memories of the wayfinder that you're wanting to play. You combine that with a little bit of gold, and that is how you unlock every additional wayfinder beyond your first. Now, it is expected that this is going to be a bit of a grind, or very likely that you will be able to purchase the wayfinders because this game is free to play, and they have been pretty upfront with the fact that they're going to be modeling the monetization after.
Right, so you can earn everything in the game, just like in Warframe. You can earn everything in the game like the rumors are for Transformers Reactivate. Or you can buy the characters.
After Warframe, and Warframe is a
Now, once you buy the character, you're just skipping the grind to get the character. Once you get the character, you still have to grind the character up to level it up.
similar game where you start off with one and then everything beyond that has to be crafted, which will take some time and be a grind, or you can choose to purchase it, which is the other option. We are assuming it is going to be exactly the same here. And I will just say, in the 25 hours that I played, I was unable to craft another wayfinder. Now, to
There you go. In 25 hours that he played, he could not make another wayfinder.
be fair, I wasn't particularly aiming for that.
True.
I wasn't grinding specifically to unlock a particular one, but just in my casual play, I was nowhere near having the resources to craft a
I think if you knew, and I've already explained this with Transformers Reactivate. We don't know how that works yet, but I said in an example, if you know that a certain area has like this resources or materials to get, you could go grind that material to see if you can get one to go make it. Like for instance, you can earn the Warframes in Warframe. I don't know why I lost the name of the Warframe in the game called Warframe. But you could go and get and farm those Warframes, and then there's a timer to make the Warframe, but you have to get the resources, but there's a specific thing that you have to get this actual, it tells you what do you need to make this Warframe. So it tells you here what it is to make this Wayfinder, which there's going to be a thing that's going to tell you what you need to make this certain Transformer.
single additional wayfinder. Now, the wayfinder you pick is only one part of the equation, though, because then there is the weapon system. So at the moment, there are 4
Right, you can level up the system,
weapon types
the weapons
or classes in the game. There are the sword and shield, the 2-handed melee weapons, the 2-handed ranged weapons, and then dual daggers. So every character will start out using
That's not true, Travis. I've earned all my Warframes. I have like 6 or 7.
their signature weapon. So for me, on Wingrave, I automatically had the 1-handed sword and shield. Now, weapons, beyond having their own particular types of attacks and combos, they also come with their own ability. So my starter sword and shield was called the Vanguard, and its ability was Power Bash, where basically I could do a shield bash for massive impact damage and guard break damage. In combat, I would build up charges, and then the more charges I have, the harder hitting it was. But what's interesting is that is just one version of the sword and shield weapon type. There are others in the game, and every single one of them come with their own unique skill. So in the build that we played for the
Here's how I think it's going to work, right? So let's say we have a group of people playing, and I have my character and someone else has a character, but we go up against the boss and we're struggling. You'd be like, oh, I have another character I can bring in, right? But that's a lot. That's a lot of time grinded into those characters because one character might have a better build than the other. Instead of just swapping out your build, you're swapping out your character.
The different weapon classes, there were 4 variations of the sword and shield, 2 variations of two-handed melee weapons, 5 ranged weapons, and 3 variations of the dual daggers. Every one of these variations has their own unique ability, so your weapons that you use aren't only like that, like sword and shield attack combos and lights and heavies, but also, depending on the one that you use, will give you a completely different 5th skill for your character. Now, they have said that this list will be expanded upon with time. I do believe by the time we get early access release, there should be even more than the ones that we saw in the build that I played. And what's even more interesting, though, is that while your character does start off with one particular weapon type, you can use any weapon in the game. Like halfway through my playtime on Wingrave, I decided to swap into using two-handed melee weapons. So I still had my 4 base abilities, they stayed the same, and I now had access to a completely new
your weapon, which is just like Warframe,
light and heavy attack chain combo, as well as all of the different attack.
I want to switch my sniper rifle out for a bow or for some pistols. It's the exact same thing, and then you level up each of the gears separately. The more you use it, the more it upgrades, which I'm okay with. I like that system for the weapons and whatnot.
Like the jumping attack and the dodging attack. But then I also had a brand new 5th ability. So the two-handed axe that I was using was called Typhoon. It's a heavy-hitting weapon, deals high damage to health and resilience, and then it has this different passive system where engaging in combat builds momentum, adding additional damage to the attacks that I do.
It's not lying, though, Travis. The game's not out yet. They're putting it out, and if you want to play it early, then you pay the money. If you don't want to play it early, then you don't pay the money. When it does come out officially, it's a free-to-play game. But if you want to get in now to play it, then you have to pay the money. So it's not really a lie. It's a free-to-play now. Now, if the game comes out at a later... It's not a scam, though. It's not a scam. They literally tell you that the game is not launched yet. It's early access. If you want early access, you're paying for it. Okay? A scam would be like, oh, no, it's free, and then, oh, sorry. Like what Overwatch did. When they were supposed to come out with Overwatch originally, it wasn't supposed to be a $40 game. It was a free-to-play game that they didn't make free. They then changed it from free to a $40 game.
And its ability was called Shatter, where I would then consume all of my momentum.
Yeah, but the point is, though, Travis, if a person's interested in that game, then they're going to pay for it. Again, there's no difference in today's gaming landscape of alpha, beta, early access, preview program, or gold. Okay, gold meaning it's out and it's a full price game. There's no difference. They're all the same.
Momentum and perform the strong overhead slam, and if I land a direct hit, that would sunder the target, causing them to take increased damage for 10 seconds. So the weapon system, it cannot be understated how it is almost like the other half of your character. Yes, your 4 abilities will never change for the character that you play, but there is some distinguishing of your playstyle and your build as we go into the other parts of progression. But combat changes drastically once you switch your weapons, because while I started with a sword and shield, I swapped to a two-handed axe. I could then also, if I wanted to, try the two-handed sword that's in the game, or I could try one of the 5 ranged weapons, or I could switch and try one of the 3 dual daggers. And if they can stay on top and continuously add not only new versions of these 4 weapon classes, but I want to see more weapon classes, because there's so much more than swords and shields, two-handed melee, ranged, and dual daggers that they could go with. I mean, in particular, off the top of my head, where's the caster stuff? Where are the stabs and the wands? Like, that opens up a whole new range of possibilities, and it is really exciting, the potential here if they continue to expand on the system, but even just with the system that they currently have in place. Now, there's much more progression in the form of accessories, echoes, the affinity system, and the abilities and masteries, so let's dive into that. So first up, you've got accessories. This is essentially your gear slots in the game. You will not be finding helms and chest pieces and pants. Your Wayfinder appearance is mostly cosmetic besides changing out your weapon, but the gear comes from these accessories. They're basically relics that you find. They'll drop from enemies. You'll find them in chests, but then you can also craft them. Basically, they're like stat sticks. It is a pretty straightforward system. They will have levels and come in various rarities. You will equip the best version and the highest level relic that you have that also has the particular stats that you are looking to enhance. Now, beyond the fact that every relic has a stat boost to it, they will also come in sets. So if you have 2 or 3 of these set accessories, then you get the bonuses associated with that. In addition to this, there is the echo system. This is basically like gems. You will collect these and they provide stat boost, increasing your health, weapon, and ability damage, things like crit or other offensive and defensive stats. There are also classes of echoes that will add an ability modifier.
Of course,
so some modifiers include if you...
Warframe's been out for over a decade. Why is that on the screen? How has that been on the screen? Why is that on the screen? Of course, the comparison is going to be different. Warframe has evolved over time. But the gist of Warframes is if you want to get the Warframes, you have to get the resources and then make the Warframe. That's the same. That hasn't changed. Warframes are Warframes. You can buy Prime Warframes. You can earn Prime Warframes as well. But if you want to purchase the Warframes, you purchase the Warframes. If you don't want to purchase the Warframes, then you grind for the Warframes. So the comparisons that he's making, that I'm making, is exactly the same as what Warframe is today to get Warframes.
You use your weapon ability, you can then drop a bomb that deals magic and break damage. Or if you lose half of your guard break, all of a sudden it summons a damage shield equal to 25% of your health. Or there was one that I found where any melee combo finishers, which is just basically the end of an attack chain, once you reach that, it then summons a large AoE blast. And these are just 3 examples of this class of echoes that will modify your attacks or your abilities or give you some sort of passive enhancement. I assume there are way more beyond the 3 that I've seen. So these echoes will be slotted onto your character, but also into your weapon and the accessories that you have. And each one of those, character, weapon, and accessories,
I wonder if it's crossplay. Is it crossplay? Does anybody know if this is crossplay?
will have an echo capacity. So the echoes themselves will have a type and rarity and level, and then also an associated cost. And the system works very similar to Warframe, where you try to match the echo type to the proper slot on your character, weapon, or accessories. And if you do so, that will actually cut its cost in half, which then lets you fit more and more powerful echoes in. It's just a matching game, which gives you access to more potential capacity.
I'm with you, Eclipse. I hope the Transformers game, I've said this in the past. I know you're newer to my channel, but if Transformers is like Warframe, just to hit it a couple more times. If Transformers is like Warframe, I'll be more interested in it because I'm a huge Transformers guy, right? I love Transformers. So if it's like that, I'm okay, because if it's just a generic IP, I wouldn't give a shit. Like, I really don't care about this, but if it's the same as this, right, and Transformers is the exact same as Wayfinder, I'm more interested in the Transformers game than I am in Wayfinder.
To put more or stronger echoes on your character. And then outside of whatever condition echoes are found when they drop for you, they can then further be upgraded by feeding other echoes into them, which increases their star rating, which increases their power. The other form of
beta
power
was
progression
crossplay?
comes through
Okay.
this system of affinity. Basically, there are 3 lines of affinity that you can progress down. There is instinct, discipline, and focus. Now, this progression can be done for both your character and the weapon that you're using. Each one of these categories will just enhance a particular combination of stats. So your basic stats include your max health, resilience, weapon and ability power, crit rating and power,
I get that,
break
Farmer.
power, and then physical and magic defense. So depending on the character, the accessories, and the weapon that you're using, the particular combination of stats that you get from going down the instinct, discipline, and focus trees may change. At the bottom, it's just another form of power progression where you move through this, leveling it up and spending resources, which makes you stronger in whatever attributes you're looking to enhance. On top of this, there are perks that you will unlock as you progress further down each individual path, and these provide some further specialization by giving you a passive boost, enhancing your character. Now, as I talked about earlier, the abilities that you get.
Yeah, but Crowded, when did you play Warframe? Did you play Warframe after years of playing Destiny? Or did you play Warframe for 5 hours before you played Destiny?
For your characters are static. Every single Wingrave has the 4 same abilities, for example. Those are locked in and they never change. However, as you level up your character, you are granted points to enhance those abilities, but there's no choice here. There's no like branching tree. Basically, every ability has 3 tiers of upgrades, and then
That's the problem. Right? That's the problem. I played Warframe before I played Destiny. And I love Warframe. But Destiny was a much better game because it was addictive and the gunplay is just so good. So going from Destiny to Warframe, you're putting expectations on Warframe that Warframe isn't, right? Warframe and Destiny are the same as Battlefield and Call of Duty. They're completely 2 different games. They just happen to be in the same type of genre.
And as you upgrade it, it just makes it stronger, giving it, additional percentage damage or healing or whatever, just making it better. It is a pretty bare bones system, and I'm actually a little disappointed that they haven't expanded further upon it. I don't know why there aren't at least like 8 options. Like if we can only have 4 active skills, at least have like multiple variations of those. If nothing else, what I would love to see, so that you take the 4 base abilities of my Wingrave, and then once I level it up, give it a branching path where I can change and pick from 1 of 2 options. Or maybe I keep the original core option, so maybe every ability has 3 potential variations, the core, and then two alternates that then turns out to be 12 potential skills that players can choose from. But right now, if I'm Wingrave, I have 4 abilities. It's the same 4 abilities.
It's a completely different game now, Oops. Completely different game. Yeah, but Cujo, you're in the same thing, right? You played Destiny before you played Warframe.
As every other Wingrave, except maybe theirs are just modified differently than mine. It's pretty bare bones, and honestly, something that I think needs to be improved. I'm astonished that this is what they're going with, but it is what it is. And then finally, for power progression, there's the mastery system. So your character is going to start out with the mastery of your weapon class, like my Wingrave had the sword and shield mastery, but you can then unlock the other weapon class masteries by spending some memory fragments, and those.
Yeah, Warframe has literally more story in that game for free Then Destiny has where you have to pay, what, $400 to get the story?
Or those yellow glowing orbs scattered around the game that I talked about earlier. It does look from this build like they intend at some point to add a mastery perk system, but right now, nothing's in the game. That is probably just coming later in development. So that is the power progression. Now, you might be wondering, well, how does visual progression work? Well, there is none, is basically how it works, or doesn't work. From what I saw, the visual appearance of your character is entirely 100% cosmetic. Like, if I wanted my character's look to change, I would have to change the weapon that I'm using or go into the cosmetic tab and swap things around. Now, in the build that I was playing, I don't know if I had access to like a collector's edition variation of the game. I couldn't tell you, but I did have a few options to start, so I was able to change up to my appearance. At no point did I ever find or unlock any new cosmetics to swap out my character. There was no changing of my visual appearance unless I stepped into the customization tab, or like I said, unless I swapped the weapon that I was using.
That's the
I
cosmetic
found that
shop
pretty
here,
darn disappointing.
basically.
I mean, I do wish that they went with a traditional gear system for the game's power progression, because then that would give the variation of gear swapping out and changing as you find new pieces. But no, that is not what they've gone with, and visual changes do appear to be 100% cosmetic. I am, of course, hoping that by the time the game comes out, there will be cosmetics for you to unlock while playing, and it is not entirely tied to monetization. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but also, it's a free-to-play game, so maybe cosmetics only change by buying new skins. I don't know yet, but in the build that I played, I never found a new cosmetic.
I'm pretty sure there was somewhere down the line that developers of Wayfinder said that it's not a pay-to-win. It's not a pay-to-win type of model. It's literally cosmetic only.
Besides the ones that I started with. So there you go. Which brings us into discussion of monetization. Now, in the build that we played, there was no monetization to be seen. There was no cash shop, not even like a work in progress coming soon tab, but it is absolutely going to be there at release. Of course it is, because this is a free-to-play game, and they have explicitly said they're going to be modeling it after what Warframe does. So what is that? Well, if you're not familiar, a lot of Warframe's progression actually centers around the use of these kind of long build timers. So you'll need to construct various parts for your weapons or the frames that you want to build, and those will come with a build time. For the higher value stuff, for the better stuff, sometimes that build time can be very, very long, many hours. I mean, it's been a long time since I played, but I recall build times of over a day potentially. So you can wait that time, or by spending a little in-game currency, they let you pay real money to skip those wait timers. Now, I should say, from what I saw, there were no timers for the building, for the crafting systems in this game, but that could change because they have said they're going to be modeling after Warframe. So it's certainly possible. Now, other things that Warframe has available for sale in the cash shop include, of course, there are cosmetic skins, there are the characters or the Warframes themselves, there are weapons that you can buy, you can purchase various equipment and boosters, enhancing boosters, percentage boosters, XP boosters, currency boosters, and there are also companions available for sale. Now, because Wayfinder has said this, here's the exact quote actually. They stated that the game will be, quote, embracing the free and fair Digital Extremes monetization philosophy. Now, in terms of Wayfinder, like I mentioned, I didn't see any build timers, but at the same time, I also couldn't find a cash shop, not even a tentative spot for the cash shop. It will be there though. At the very least, if nothing else, they will be selling skins. And like I said, the built-in cosmetic customization and progression was pretty much non-existent from what I saw. We'll have to see where all of this lands once the game officially comes out. Now, as for my overall impressions, I really like the game. And like I said, I really found that as I kept playing more, I was enjoying the game more and more, and I wanted to keep on playing. On the good side, I think the gameplay and combat in general feels really solid. I absolutely love the visuals, the design, the aesthetic, the way the world is built, the overworld area, how it's structured and how it is to explore, and even the progression system I thought felt pretty good, although I think it could use a little more variety. In particular, I would love to see more Wayfinder skill variety. As for the bad, well, unfortunately, performance was pretty rough. I've got a pretty high-end rig, and even I struggled to maintain a consistent frame rate in the open world. Dungeons, it was
one of
much
the reasons
smoother,
I want to
but
play on
while I was in
console.
the open zone play space, it was a little choppy. It was even worse for my friend who has a 2080, and he said he would go down into the teens. Like, the FPS drops were pretty substantial, and it was almost unplayable for him. So whatever the issues are, hopefully they can iron out performance before release. I also want to say that lots of the world felt a little stiff. This is a preview build, so there were things like T-posing NPCs and characters that kind of just felt like plopped in place. Obviously, the T-posing is going to be swapped out, but I do hope that they can add some more animation to the environment and the NPCs within it, because I did feel like a lot of it felt static, almost like I was walking through a diorama instead of like a living world. So I feel like they should do something to breathe a little more life into the game and just make it feel a little more alive. That would go a long way. I also really hope that they launch with more than just 2 open world zones. I hope I'm misunderstanding or was misinformed, and that they will be releasing with like 4 or 5. If not, I fear like some people are going to feel it's just not enough, and there's not enough to this game, even with the fact that you are spending most of your time in the dungeons. It would be a shame if that is
I don't think they're going to put more stuff out. I think it's bare minimum at launch. Once it's launched, not early access launch, like actual launch, when it's on all the platform or Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. I think it's still a year or 2 years out before they put anything else in like that.
Game down. But overall, though, yeah, I really like this game. I had a lot of fun, and I think it's got a ton of potential. So when are we going to be able to play it? They are looking to go into early access at some point in May. There will be playtests between now and then, and the game is slated for a full release later in this calendar year. Now, remember, it is a free-to-play game, and with that, they are going to have not only a cash shop, but also a season system. So they said the seasons will be released every 3 months, and with each season, they will be including a brand new wayfinder, brand new weapons, as well as new open-world events and dungeon challenges. Now, I do believe that they will occasionally with these seasons also be introducing new zones and new dungeon templates or those dungeon locations that we talked about, but that is not going to be coming with every season. They have not said as much. It's not expected. I think Wayfinder is really cool. I really had a good time with it. I'm looking forward to playing more. It's definitely not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and it isn't a traditional MMO if we still want to argue about the genre class.
So that's good for Force Gaming. Give him a like. I already gave it a like. You guys haven't seen it. It's been out for 5 months. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to purchase this game for the $15. The other day I was thinking about it, but because Starfield's coming right around the corner, even when it comes out on PC tomorrow, I don't even think I'm going to get my $15 worth of time put in. Plus, when I play a game on here, even though I have a very small community, I don't want to get a free-to-play game and pay money for it, because the other people look at it and go, oh, is it good? Is it great? Is it fun? And then you guys will also have to pay then at the time. I'll just wait for this game to come out as a free-to-play game. Once it's free to play, I will check it out and play it. But I did play like 6-7 hours, like I said. And I did enjoy myself. But at the same time, just the timing where it's coming out, I don't feel like paying $15 for the game to test it out for like, I don't know, a couple hours, maybe one stream. I'll just let it be what it is. There's plenty of other content creators that'll make content off of it. There'll be other footage that you can watch and see and make a good choice. Once it comes out as free to play later in the year, I'll pick it up and then we'll play it, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it when it's out. But I did enjoy my time with it. You mean you'll wait until it says what they said it was? I mean, it's in early access, not released. That's the thing, Travis. Not released yet. I refuse to go back to Destiny. Yeah, the Destiny. I know Cujo said he didn't. What did you say about inability to get into Warframe had nothing to do with Destiny? It was the grind and level design plus the convoluted system. When's the last time you played it though, Cujo? Did you play it once they put the open world stuff in? I haven't played it in a couple of years myself. I put it in the other day, last week, 2 weeks ago, just to see what it was. But I haven't played it. All I'm saying on the if you played Destiny first and then played Warframe, you're going to be turned off by Warframe. You are. Just because that's a lot of people how they compare it. The amount of stuff that you can do in Warframe now, it's actually a really good game. If you just play it for the story stuff, you can play for literally, I think, probably 50 hours of just story-based stuff, going through all the different campaigns. Skull and Dead closed beta. They were having problems trying to find people to play the beta, the test, Jesse. We just finished the Division 2. The next season comes out. Well, me and Sarge will go back in and save the guys or kill the guys or whatever. I did, Crowded. I did see we effed up, right? And I find it funny that Joe Blackburn came out and made a video like that, because that's not Bungie's MO. They majorly screwed up, and because they majorly screwed up, he's like, I'm gonna go out there and try to put out some fires. To me, that's all play, man. They know exactly what they did, and now they're backtracking. I love Warframe. It's a true free-to-play game. Yeah, you could play everything in that game and never pay for anything. Like, you could literally, if you just want to play the main story with the character, you can go through never playing anything. You could literally level up multiple Warframes and never spend a dime. On their YouTube channel 9 minutes ago. On Ubisoft's one. $15 minutes ago, Skull and Bones closed beta trailer. Yeah, I'm not even gonna look at it. I'm staying away from that game. That game is trouble. Trouble in the making. Rough waters ahead. Oh, you didn't say for seasons. Biggest issues with it was the puffed up grind they used to try to get you to spend. Yeah, but even when you spend in that game, if you spend, it's not like you're spending like it was literally they literally stopped people from spending more money than they were supposed than they were. I forget a couple years ago, someone was spending more money and they're like, this is not why we made the system the way it is. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong, because Brain knows more than I do. A lot of the don't get me wrong, they have microtransactions for the skins for the primes that are expensive, but I think to like get an extra space and stuff like that, it's not very expensive. It literally is the definition of microtransactions, if I'm not mistaken. It's what they did with Rainbow Six. Let's take a part of it and use it as the standalone title. No Ubisoft. For what game are you talking about, Salty? You talking about the Division now? Or are you talking about AC, where they took the Black Flag and made it into its own game? Skull and Bones. Okay. Yeah, it is. And he offers several free paths to most things. Yeah, I have Brains gifted me like a slot for a Warframe and slots for like weapons and stuff, but I think I had 2 or 3. What did you start with back then? I think you started with like 3 slots. Then I earned a 4th slot. I have like 7 slots now. Again, at that point though, right? Let's be real. If you're playing Warframe and you like Warframe, and then you leveled up in a complete Warframe with all the weapons and you're playing, you probably like it, right? You probably like it. So you would still continue playing and then unlock another Warframe. When I see a free-to-play game, this is my mentality. I'm not saying everybody has to be like this. When I see a free-to-play game, if I'm enjoying the free-to-play game, like a Dauntless, like a Fortnite, like something like that, okay? To me, they have a free $60 pool that I can play with. I usually don't ever use any of it because I never bought a microtransaction. Okay. But if I want to buy like a season pass or something like that, once I'm completed with it, in my head, if a free-to-play game did a good job, kept me playing because I was entertained, thought it was fun, then they have $60 of my money that I would pay to play the game. You know what I mean? That I would give them for some sort of cosmetic season pass, battle pass, some way, shape, or form, whatever you want to call it. That's just me, though. I don't expect free-to-play games to give me free everything, because that's not going to make it. Right? That's not going to make it. They also have a free battle pass that offers slots of equipment for 100% free. Like, I think if you enjoy something, you can pay for it if it's free. Now, if you paid $100 for something and then they're nickel and diming you, like a Diablo, that's completely different. Yeah, you can still enjoy the game, and if you had fun and you keep playing, you're putting hundreds of thousands of hours in it, and you want to keep that company going. Sure, I guess, spend your money. But to limit stuff behind things that they make grindy on purpose on a paid game, or having a single player game that you paid full price for and then still paying microtransactions on top of that, that's scummy to me. Oh, you haven't played Warframe since PlayStation? Yeah. I have 30 Warframe slots, never paid for one. I mean, all you have to do is play the game, but if you want to support them, you can. Right. And that's what I'm saying, Eclipse. Right? If you're enjoying a game that much, right? And you want to be anybody that wants to be a freeloader and just take the whole thing the entire time and never pay for anything, you can do that. But the percentage of people doing that in a free-to-play game is very small. I just feel like if you look at Warframe, and I have, like, let's say 2,000 hours, which I don't, but I have like 2,000 hours in Warframe, but I've never spent a dime just because I love the game, but I've never spent anything. I never bought a shirt, a hat, a poster. You see what I'm saying? That to me is a little ridiculous. Like, you should at least pay for something that you like in some way, shape, or form. Support the company in some way, shape, or form. If that's $60 in one shot, or if that's $60 over 10 years, whatever. It's like people that pay $500 for a console and play free games. I just feel like some way down the line, you got to put more money back into the company, right? You know what I mean, Salty? Like, you can't be surprised if all you do is go somewhere and get free stuff, and then you're like, I can't believe that place closed. Or I can't believe that person's not doing this anymore, right? At some point, somebody has to keep the lights on, okay? And yes, free-to-play games charge microtransactions and whatnot, and the few pay for the many. But if you're enjoying the game, if you like the game, you're putting, I'll talk about 5 hours, 10 hours, and then you put the game down. I'm talking about if you have hundreds of hours in a game and you're not paying anything, don't be surprised if that game closes down shop and doesn't pay for anything, right? You didn't pay for the game. You didn't pay for anything else. You got thousands of hours. You're enjoying yourself, but you don't want to give them any money to continue. I support them when they were predatory even. You had three revives every 24 hours. Had to pay for more if you died more than that. I remember that. And I stopped playing. I died 3 times. Like, all right, I'll come back. Like, I'm good. I think that's one of the reasons I stopped playing in the very, very, very beginning, Brain. So I bought a football game yesterday. I bought that Legends Bowl game, the 8-bit / 16-bit football game, because I wanted a football game, but I didn't want to play Madden, right? And I thought it was fun. I've been watching it on someone else's channel for a long time, so I bought it, and now I'm playing it in the background. I bought it yesterday, tried it out, haven't played it yet, but I wanted a football game I could play during football season. Yeah, I can't wait for Madden to come out just because I want Angry Joe's review. I can't wait for Madden to come out just so I can see Angry Joe's review on it. No, Travis. No, I bought it. It's Legend Ball. Here, let me show you if you don't know what it is. It just came out on console. I didn't want to buy it for PC because I don't want to play a game like that on PC. This is Legend Bowl. It's out for Switch. It's out for PC. It's out for the consoles. This is it, right? It's literally pixel football. Okay, all made up teams. You can make your own teams. You can make your characters. There's a whole franchise mode. There's a whole like in-depth thing. The only difference is it's an 8-bit / 16-bit football game. It's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. Oh, did you get it, Brain? Battle Bit? We'll have to play one night. We'll have to play one night. It's Techo Bowl remastered. Sort of. Techo Bowl, though, is left to right. Right? The gameplay is a lot of fun. There's like hard hits. It's just a lot of stats, a lot of things that are happening. You have a full franchise mode. When you're playing, you can hold the button or tap the button. If you tap the button, it's like a lob. If you hold the button and then let go, there's like a meter that goes up, and then you pass it real fast. I think it's fun. And I wanted to play a football game. Football season's in effect, and I don't like supporting Madden. So this is the game I supported. So I might record like the season and like post those like I did for MLB. I don't think they'll do very well, but it's more content on my channel for different people. Those little legs go. Yeah, it's really more about the fun. Right? It's more about the fun. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could literally just change the names of the teams, because you can edit all the teams, and you could put them all as the actual real name of the teams. Their logos would be different, but if I wanted to put the Giants and the Eagles and the Redskins or whatever. Well, no, Jack Burton would be a quarterback. Maybe I should make Travis, maybe I should make a team where they're just every single person on the team is called Jack Burton. So that way he's all offense, all defense. It's the Jack Burtons. The whole team will be called the Jack Burtons. Offense, defense. Jack Burton throws to Jack Burton. Jack Burton going down the field. That might be pretty funny. The whole team is called Jack Burtons. It's the Jack Burtons with everybody on the team named Jack Burton. Defense, offense, the coach, everybody. Then I was thinking about making it where I could edit and put every single person that's a member, okay, inside the game on some sort of team. If it's our main team that we're playing or against other people on the team. And then just like simming those types of games. That might be fun as well. I don't think I would stream it live though. I would just post those videos. There should be uploads. All right. We are done. I volunteer for the best football position sitting on the bench. There you go. Are we going to get the Big Trouble in Little China remake? We supposedly are. It's not a remake though, Crowded. It's The Rock is supposed to be it's supposed to be like a continuation, sort of like what he did with Jumanji. It's not a remake, it's more of a sequel to it, and supposedly The Rock is supposed to be taking the place of it, or the main person of it, if I'm not mistaken. You see. The Rock. September 15th. What's happening with Dwayne Johnson's Big Trouble in Little China? Here's the latest. Let's see. First time Dwayne Watch Johnson would be leading the new version of Big Trouble in Little China back in 2015. By the end of 2018, it was clarified that it would be a sequel to the 1986 original, starring Kurt Russell, rather than a remake/reboot. However, the updates have been a few in between since then. So Collider asked the producer and co-founder, Stephen Buck's Productions, the movie is still happening, and here's what he answered. He says, it's still an ambitious of ours. Unfortunately, there's a complication that comes with the legacy property, which has so much attention to it from over the years. We actually have a really fun idea, but we would want to do it with, especially since our goal was never to be a remake of Big Trouble, but simply to continue it. Similar to what it did with Jumanji. There you go. We couldn't continue the story and make sure that the original stands on its own, since it means so much to us and the fans all around the world. So, needless to say, we are still working on making it happen. But as with the great project and the road, it's not that easy to be sticking to it. So we're going to go figure out a way to continue the story of Big Trouble in Little China. So basically, they're still in the works of it, but it's not happening anytime soon. One, because of the writer strike, the actor strike. So we'll probably see it in like 2028 or something like that. I did. There was a big book of bull that we did years ago, last year sometime, when we were all thinking of what movie was The Rock going to be in. I think there's an actual section. Hold on a second. There's an actual section. Yeah. So we actually have a section in our Discord. Welcome to what game is Dwayne Johnson going to make, right? So like what he's going to be in. And Boss said Metal Gear Solid or Streets of Rage. My choice back on January 27th, 2022 was God of War and Gears of War. Those are my two options for a movie. Okay. Another person said, DJ said God of War. Dewey Bear said Donkey Kong. Krebsy said Shepherd of Mass Effect or Kratos. Buckalorian said WCW versus NWO World Tour or God of War. So a lot of people were on the God of War train. Duke Nukem. What else we got? We got Mortal Kombat. We got people saying Kratos. So a lot of people were saying different things, but we were all the people that played. We were all on the same page of Kratos. Well, Batista would be in it as well, Travis. Right? If it's a Gears of War, one would be like Marcus, and the other person could be, somebody else. I don't want to say the main character, but they're both huge guys. You got to get big guys to play Gears of War. You can't put like some skinny guy. Rock is the new James Hong, same guy and everything. Well, when he made Jumanji and he made Jungle Cruise, and he made, I forget what other one it was, with the what was the one? Rampage. He wore the same colored shirt in like all the films. It was funny. It was like he was probably filming them all at the same time and just wore the same outfit and then just walked over to the soundstage and did his role. Oh yeah, Batista wants to be Marcus. He wants to be Marcus. Oh, Henry Cavill would be good for Metal Gear. Rose says, great, another movie for The Rock to ruin. Regardless of what people think of his acting, Rose, it's fundamentally true, or facts, I should say, not fundamentally true. It's facts that he brings more money in. Like, can you imagine if Black Adam wasn't him? It would have made what Shazam made. Oh, Brock Lesnar? I could see a lot of wrestlers. You could make Gears almost the same type of style as Predator. And what I mean by that is Predator was so good with Arnold, right? With all the guys that were just really jacked. That would be interesting to see with Gears and do that something like that. You get Brock Lesnar, you get The Rock, you get Batista, you get all these guys that are just giant celebrities, like big actors or sports stars, and you put them in that type of movie. You like Shazam, though? The second one? Did you see the second one? The second one was bad, Salty. Shazam 2 was bad. All around. Shazam 2 was terrible. Terrible. There was no good parts about it. It was like phoned in. Who the fuck would put Helen Mirren and what was the what's her name? Lucy Liu as the villains? Oh, I like him as Shazam. That's not the problem. The movie itself was just a pile of crap. I saw it like 3 weeks ago. It was terrible. They should have realized that the first pitch of Helen Mirren as the villain in Shazam be like, no. Could have gotten anybody else within the same decade. Well, you're right about Shazam versus Black Adam, but The Rock shut that down real fast. He was like, "No, you're not on the same plane as me." There was a problem between him and Zachary. I think they were stupid. I think they should have 100% done it. Wanted him versus Superman. Oh, talk about Black Adam wanted him versus Superman. Ant-Man was a pile of horse crap. Didn't watch it. I was going to. I was on an airplane, right? I'm stuck in the sky and going through all the movies. And I went, nope, I'm not going to watch that. Blue Beetle comes out Friday. It's going to close on Sunday. That movie's going to bomb so bad. Black Adam was better than Shazam, but Black Adam was still best part about Black Adam was Pierce Brosnan's character of Fate. Dr. Fate was the best character in a Black Adam film. You know the best DC movie that's right under the Red Hood? What was it? No, it's not saying much, Rose. But Pierce Brosnan's character was the best part of it. I just watched another movie with Pierce Brosnan in it. It was like a comedy movie. Something In-Laws or Outlaws or something like that, where Pierce Brosnan is the father. His daughter's getting married to like this bank guy who played by, I forget the actor's name. He's a comic guy. I forget what the name of it's called. Anyway, he's a father of this daughter where he's a bank robber. So the father and mother are bank robbers, and their daughter's getting married to a guy who runs a bank. It's a bad movie, but Pierce Brosnan still good in the movie. Making a comeback with his acting abilities here. He even makes fun of himself in James Bond. In the movie, they're like, oh, he reminds me of somebody. He's like, which Bond? Or he's like, oh, you look like a Bond character. He's like, well, which Bond? And he said, I forget what he said, 5 or something like that. Had the best ending scene at the end, the credits. Yeah, I don't know what James Gunn is doing with the DC universe. I don't understand how you could say that, no, we're rebooting the thing and then bring everyone else back, but then get rid of Henry Cavill I can't imagine Henry Cavill being like a diva or whatnot, but you know, let me see what that one. Pierce Brosnan. He was. Yeah, it was called The Outlaws. The Outlaws. Come on, Twisted Logic. Henry was perfect for Superman, still is. Like Ryan Reynolds is in Deadpool, of course. Looks a matter. Do you think that Ryan Reynolds got by his super pure action talent? No. What do you mean? Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, of course, looks matter. You think Ryan Reynolds got by on his superior action talent? Ryan Reynolds is a good actor, though. Plays Ryan Reynolds, but his character is Deadpool. Like Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. The Warhammer. Yeah, Warhammer. Oh yeah. You know who Ryan Reynolds is, Salty? He reminds me of Chevy Chase. The type of actor that Ryan Reynolds is, he is this generation's Chevy Chase. I like Ryan Reynolds all the way back with Two Guys, Girls, and a Pizza Place. It was what I think it was one of his first shows he ever did. That was a great show. That liberal dumbass like Chevy. I don't judge people on their political views. I'm basing it off solely off of the actual what he did in his career. I don't care who you vote for or what his stances are and stuff. Chevy Chase, fantastic fucking in the 70s and 80s. The movies that he did, he was untouchable. Untouchable. Yeah, he won the national championship with the soccer team. Didn't they get moved up? Twisted? Didn't they get moved up to the next division, or are they still in the same division? Chevy Chase, everything that he did in the 70s and 80s was gold. Gold. Yeah, Fletch. Um what's the oh god, it was in my head and I can't think of it. Where he's the farmer? God, what the hell is it? Funny Farm. Funny Farm, Fletch, National Lampoon. Yeah, they're all just fantastic, man. Yeah, but Bill Murray, Ryan Reynolds doesn't remind me of Bill Murray. He reminds me of a Chevy Chase. Bill Murray is that he's in his class in a class of his own. Even though it's the same, SNL crew. Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Eddie Murphy. Oh yeah, Caddyshack. I like Steve Martin. Steve Martin, My Blue Heaven, uh, Roxanne. There's so many good movies with him. I even watched the new show with him, Murder in the Building. Hood. Yeah, fantastic. All right, I gotta go. I gotta go eat lunch and stuff. I appreciate it very much. We'll be back tonight with more Transformers. Fall of Cybertron. We did first 2 parts Monday and Tuesday. We're on I think Act 7 tonight. We're doing 7, 8, and 9 tonight with Transformers Fall of Cybertron. Appreciate it very much. I love My Blue Heaven. Salty. It was a great one. We'll be back tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. Guys, come back out. As I'm playing games, you can always have conversations like this while I'm playing. So I appreciate it very much. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, you become a member as little as $5. I appreciate it very much. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.